Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Victory Monday! Kool-Aid time! And as our director said, he's not sure if that came out of Lake Erie. I can dispel that myth. G mixed that up before the show.
It came out of G. Bush, apparently.
Hey,
can we get this over to the lab?
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the bathroom and it was kind of
It kind of looked murky like that.
At G's party this weekend, there was a lot of crazy drinks being served. So that who
that
knows?
might be it. Fluorescent. That's nuclear waste.
How was the party? My apologies for not being able to.
Hey,
do that.
listen,
we had a full weekend.
Listen, you know what?
We had a great time.
Here's what I learned about it. If you're having a party, just go ahead and just give everybody you know an invitation. So that way you can be off the hook. Because you know everybody can't come, right? Everybody, and if everybody came.
About 50%.
Yes, 50%.
It usually works out that well.
And if everybody came that you gave an invitation to, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be able to walk
or
in.
You'd be buying a bigger house.
You know what's funny about that? When we got married, they said send save the date cards.
Yes.
That's the worst thing you can do because they said, okay, well, it's a 60% acceptance rate.
It
usually
increases the acceptance rate.
We were like over 90%.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
where are we going to put all
The same
I
thing
didn't really
with my
want you
daughter.
to come. I was just being polite.
That's it.
Now I got to feed you at $100
Right,
a day.
I know you got stuff to do. You're not showing up to that.
Yeah, no, you're right about the save the date.
Oh, don't ever, if you're getting
Just do a
married,
pop
don't
quiz.
do,
Hey,
don't
we're getting
do
married
save
next
the date.
weekend.
Boom.
Yeah, right? Do not do save the dates. It will cost you in the long run.
But it was a beautiful time. Everybody showed up. It was a nice family
How was the
atmosphere.
chicken? You had your guy in.
As
Jerk chicken was
advertised.
great.
Amazing.
Really?
Yeah, it was really
As
good.
advertised, or did he gas him?
No, it was really good. The guy,
Wow.
in fact, the jerk chicken guy was there.
He was
met
there.
The jerk chicken guy.
Yeah, jerk chicken guy was there. We had Daryl was there. There was a bunch of people who look. Everybody, people just showed up. And the cool thing about it, my wife, shout out to you. She made thousands of dishes. There was
and
She's a great
labeled
cook, right?
everything on the
Yeah,
everything in the
she's a great
buffet
cook.
was labeled by her.
See, that's key to me because I don't eat
Yeah.
seafood.
Yep.
And sometimes you're looking at it, it's like, could be chicken, could be seafood, I don't know. But you don't want to taste it and then spit it out or smell it. It's a little rude.
right.
Yeah,
so I appreciate the labeling. I think
was
that's a
good.
nice extra mile.
Yeah,
And we did a live show there for like 10 minutes.
I saw that.
Oh,
They
wow.
came
it on
into
the
my
page.
booth. We was
That's
hanging
awesome.
out.
All right, let's go around the horn. Shotgun reaction to yesterday's win that puts the Browns at 7-3 and a half game out of first place in the North. Bull?
I thought my Browns had a great day. It was a great win by the Browns.
Where you get that? I see
He's
you
wearing the shirt.
Hey, listen.
It was a fantastic win. It wasn't pretty, at least by the offense, but the Browns are trying to prove something do something that hasn't been done in a very long time. Win without very good quarterback play. And I thought DTR, for what he was asked to do, actually did a decent job. We'll get into the details on that. I thought it was a great win. There were some clutch performances on that final drive from some guys who hadn't done much all the time. Well, the defense obviously led the way. Myles Garrett setting the tone right off the bat with that sack that should have been a safety. But thankfully it wasn't. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, exactly. It led to a touchdown.
You know, Mike said something on our call pre-show that it was exactly what I was thinking last night driving home from the game. If I told you before the year, Deshaun's not going to hardly play this year. He's going to have a bum shoulder. He's going to go on IR at the halfway point. Nick Chubb's not going to play all year. You're going to be down to your fourth and fifth starting tackles. What do you think the Browns' record would be right now? It would be 3-7, 2-8, and I'd be fighting G about. He'd be screaming, "Fire him! Fire everybody! Everybody's got to go!" And I'd be going, "G, they got nobody. They got nobody. What do you expect?" And yet this team is 7-3 and in control of its own destiny. It's unbelievable the job that they have done. Full credit to them for doing it, for finding ways to win. They Steelers the Steelers yesterday.
Yep.
That's
Is
exactly what I
did.
said when the game was over.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, we turned into the Steelers
Yes,
today.
they Steelers the Steelers, and all credit to them for doing that.
Listen, I watch video games now because I don't have time to play. And so
you watch other people play them?
Yes, I watch. Just watch
Things I'll never understand for
fighting games, strategy games where they go around in teams and they see who can last longest in war type situations. And I realized the reason I watch those is because it gives me some insight into Kevin Stefanski's mind. I think this was one of the most masterful jobs he's done while he's here. And a lot of people don't really understand why. When we get into it, this was genius level, right? Because a lot of people were screaming that they didn't throw the ball, they were a little conservative, but it hit me. I said, "Oh man, this is." I tell him like in the Matrix, in the last one, not this last one, but the one before that, Matrix Revolutions. He says, the Oracle and the architect, they meet on the bench, and the Oracle's sitting there, and the architect comes along. He says, "You played a dangerous game, didn't you?" She's like, "Yes, I did play a dangerous game." Kevin Stefanski played a dangerous game, but it worked. It worked, and we'll expound on that later.
Yeah. I love that analogy. I don't know anything about what you're talking about, but I love the analogy that he's coming at this from a different angle. That's what geniuses do. Mm-hmm. Not saying he's a genius, but what he did yesterday and what he's done this year, to your point, we have all of a sudden enveloped the Steelers culture. We're doing it with great defense. It is not a good offense, but the offense knows coming into the game, because of the defense they have, they don't need to be great. Mm-hmm. It's okay if you run it a lot. It's okay if you don't get a lot of yards on the ground. What was interesting to me yesterday was the game played out exactly how we said it would Friday, really. You said 10-9. Mm-hmm. I had 17-13. It was low scoring. I think they both turned it over once. Am I right?
No, the Steelers
did not turn it over. Okay, so just Cleveland had the pick.
Yeah.
When you go back and you look at the things that we said had to happen for them to win, they checked all those boxes. Myles made a couple of big plays when he needed to. Myles Garrett, again, he didn't do anything to hurt himself in Defensive Player of the Year hunt. For my money, the fact that this team is 7-3, when you put all of that evidence, because I'm with you, 3-7.
Yep.
I literally thought about it. Okay, where would they be?
Yeah.
What we're watching in real time, and it's so exciting to watch, is a slow and gradual turning of the Browns' ship. Their point on the horizon is changing as we're watching them. They now have the confidence, whether it's DTR or P.J. Walker or Deshaun Watson. All three of those quarterbacks have come in against big odds at the end of the game when they have not been moving the ball, and Kevin called the right plays at the exact right time. I was screaming the entire game, throw the ball downfield. Throw the ball downfield.
I was not.
Keep them honest. I wanted one a quarter.
I thought they would take a deep shot late.
I did too. I thought they would.
Our subscribers.
Because, as I said to Mike before the show, one throw deep, the Steelers were going to play the way they were playing.
But no Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's why I thought, try him out.
And they had their backup safety go off to injury.
Yes, at one point.
And I thought...
This is what G's talking about, the dangerous game, and why he didn't do it, and I loved every minute of it, and it worked.
But there's
some work. Now, the question is, how much can this work?
Well, going forward, he's going to have to do more, but it was for...
He will.
Kevin Stefanski's game planning game by game, and that's what Bill Belichick does before he went over the cliff.
Do they have the easiest schedule remaining?
No, but it's definitely not as hard as some other teams that are in the same race.
When you look at their remaining schedule, you said appropriately on Friday that it's a race to 10.
Yes.
They need 3 in 7 to get to 10.
They're going to get there, but
they're going to get there.
I think their schedule is a little bit tougher than you might give. Denver is no pushover.
What you mean?
No, they're not.
Houston is suddenly looking like.
I'm scared.
And the Jets, though, who the hell's the Jets starting quarterback?
The Jets, I think that's a win. The Bengals Week 18 is probably a win, but it shouldn't come to that.
None of these games are very tough.
But you got the freaking Jaguars in there. The Texans and the Jaguars are not easy. Bears and Jets should be wins.
Look at the Bills' schedule, guys. Go look at their schedule. Chiefs, Eagles.
The Ravens actually have the hardest schedule left.
And I think the Bills have the 3rd hardest. Well, that's great for us, though.
Yeah, according to based on some
winning percentage,
metrics, not winning percentage, based on the metrics on how good teams are.
We'll get into it in a little bit, but when we're talking about Stefanski and the way he coaches and everything, I had a player tell me something yesterday. It immediately made me think of you, and we'll talk about it a little bit later about the way that he has sort of changed his style a little bit this year.
From offense to defense?
No, just in his thinking. We'll talk about it a little bit later, because then I text with a couple other players, and they all agree with
we've been talking a lot on this show. I first brought it up last year about how the offense has regressed and it's more of a defensive game. I have so many numbers, it took 2 pages to print them out. We are officially out of the high production, powerful offense era and into an era of more defensive-minded play. And by the way, that bodes very well for our Cleveland Browns.
I don't buy that I don't buy that it's an era yet. It's not long enough to be called an era.
No, you're right, because for it to be an era, it's got to be 3 years. But I can show you where it's 2 years, and this is the 3rd year of declining offensive production. Go back to 2020.
Right, but the team that won the Super Bowl still won because of offense last year.
So if you do it that way, and I understand why you would, because that's the cream of the crop, that can still be an anomaly. What I did is I took total numbers from all games, and it's a pretty clear delineation that it is a much more defensive-minded game. Sacks are through the roof now. Sacks are through the roof. Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to get our first read, and then we're going to dive into some specifics from yesterday, and starting with DTR. But first, if you're looking to score early this NFL season, FanDuel is the place to use all your sports gambling needs. It is so easy to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. You can visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And shout out to our guy, Hall of Fame Juco, who hit a 14-leg moneyline college football parlay. He hit Toledo moneyline, Ohio moneyline, Pittsburgh moneyline, UTSA moneyline, Penn State moneyline, Michigan moneyline, Ball State moneyline, Wyoming moneyline, Colorado State moneyline, Georgia moneyline, TCU moneyline, Iowa moneyline, Missouri moneyline, and Texas moneyline, and turned $25 into $4,096. So shout out to Juco Hall of Fame for that winning ticket. If you have a winning FanDuel ticket, hit us up and tweet at us at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
I think that's
feature
what's
you guys
college football
in the coming days.
If you pick right, it's in college football.
Yeah.
Hey, these people.
It's tough to do the NFL like
that. They be winning. People be winning so much. I be wanting to be gambling. I'm like, man, is it easy to just pick them like that? Then I look at my fantasy
people are not sending us their losing tickets.
No, that's a fact. And
it's
you know
so
what?
fun.
I'm glad you said that because someone that watches the show regularly said you're highlighting the winners. Make sure that you talk about the losers, and of course, to be responsible, we do both.
That's right.
There are obviously a lot more losers than
winners. You want
to
be responsible in your gambling. FanDuel is great. It's awesome. That's why I love these because people are not. You're not risking a lot of money. They're betting $5, $10, $20.
Right.
You know that's great. And if you win a ton of money, that's beautiful. But you're not risking too much.
Right.
Low risk, high reward. Yes.
Don't try to dig out of a hole by making a bigger.
Yes.
I know people that have done that.
Yeah.
Doesn't always end well.
But that's why this is great. FanDuel's great because you could risk a little and win a lot.
All right, Mike, you want to turn right into the DTR conversation on his play yesterday?
Yeah, DTR.
I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, when we could grade his first half, we could grade his second half. He led a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter after leading the Browns to 54 total yards for the first 28 minutes of the second half. I mean, it was a roller coaster of emotions for a rookie quarterback, but at the end of the day, when it mattered most, DTR stepped up in the biggest of ways.
What do you give him, total grade and second half?
I think it's hard to grade him because I was doing grades on my podcast yesterday. I think I gave him a C-. And then I was like, I guess that's a little too harsh because I'm grading him against typical quarterbacks. Like, his numbers are an F. Or a D-.
Factor about 5 drops into there.
Yeah, but I can't.
Technically 7.
Every team has drops.
7 drops.
Okay,
yes.
by my eyes, it was at least 5.
It doesn't. But it doesn't.
I know
matter.
every team has drops, but yesterday was we had a case of the drops yesterday more than any other time this year.
Listen. Also, Elijah Moore on that play in the last drive, he got down on the ground to make a catch.
Sure.
So if we're gonna I'm not gonna factor in that. If you just looked at the stats, it's basically a D- performance. But if you actually watched the game and you knew going in what the expectations were, which for me were very low because the only time I'd seen him play, he didn't play well. In the end, I gave him a C- yesterday. I'm upgrading that to a B-.
Oh, wow.
Because of what he was asked to do. You got to put it in context of that. Now, in the grand scheme of things, he's going to have to do more down the line. Certainly in the playoffs, where I think the Browns are going, he's going to have to do more. But for yesterday, he did, for the most part, what they wanted him to do. None of the stats are good, except for the game-winning drive. Those are good stats. But I thought he did some really nice things with his legs. He showed tremendous growth off his first game, tremendous growth. the pick was a tip ball. I thought he was careful. He didn't throw any careless passes. And he was in a tough spot because the Steelers obviously knew they weren't going downfield much, and the running game was completely ineffective. So he was in a tough spot. So that's why I upgraded him to a B-, even though the stats are a D-.
I think you had it right the first time. I think it's a C-.
Okay.
And if you look at the numbers, it's an F. But if you grade on the curve and understand the circumstances he's in, it's probably about a C-. And he's going to get better, right? Like the more reps he takes, the longer he's in there, he should get better. Obviously, he was better from his first start to yesterday, and now he should only continue to grow. You know, we said at the open, the Steelers. Well, he just picketed the Steelers because this is a Kenny Pickett game. It's really not there for 3 quarters, then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, you're like, where did that come from? Well, that's exactly what DTR did, that final drive. That throw to Elijah Moore was his best throw of the game. The one
he
to
made a
midfield.
couple of his best throws on that last drive.
Yeah, but that one in particular I thought was his best throw of the game. And you talk about the drops, and I am going to count the drops because he was hitting guys right in the hands.
I'm counting them too.
Yeah, he hit Elijah Moore right in the hands on one, and he dropped it. Now, he went right back to him, and Elijah made the play on second down, and I think they converted the first or got close to the chains.
Yep.
Njoku had a terrible day. He took full blame. He came out and
But
said,
he made a big catch
"I was
on the
crap."
last drive.
He did have
Yeah.
a big catch on the last drive. That was not a typical David day.
Yeah.
He had too many that hit him in the hands. It should have been catches that he dropped. So his numbers, every team has drops, yes, but those yesterday looked awfully egregious. Probably made his numbers look a little bit worse than what they would have otherwise. I know we're going to get to the Flacco thing. I don't think Joe Flacco's a factor in this. If Flacco's on the field, something's gone terribly wrong for the Browns. This is DTR's job, I believe.
He's simply a safety net.
Yeah.
Right?
I would not start him unless I felt like I had to.
No, we'll
this
talk
is-
about that much more as
This
the
is
season goes on, but
DTR's
I think
job
he's
as
a
it goes.
safety net.
Yeah, this is DTR's job the rest of the way unless something goes
Unless he's a
tragically
disaster.
wrong. Yeah,
Unless
and
he's a
that's going
disaster.
tragically
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
Gee, what do you grade him?
Listen, I had him at a C+. I upgraded him to a B-. And the reason I upgraded him to a B- is because, that drive is what those drives right there is what they pay quarterbacks for. You get paid millions of dollars, not before what you do in the first, second, or third quarter. It's about the fourth quarter. And if you get the ball back, are you going to be able to lead your team downfield? And for a rookie in his second start to be able to do that against a Pittsburgh Steelers squad in that spot, that deserves some sort of credit. Now, if you was to take that in a vacuum and look at the whole game, people would say, okay, look at those numbers. Man, that's a C- D effort game. But as I said before, as I teased in the open, this was part of the game plan. The game plan was to make sure that DTR understood no turnovers. And the one turnover he had, it hit somebody in the hands, popped up. That wasn't on him. Now, he said it in the post game. He said, look, I've put a lot of work in. I've done the work. I've done the film work. I've been meeting with AVP and Stefanski. And he said this, and I thought this was a big point for him. He said, if this was 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, I would have tried to fit some balls in places where I had no business throwing it.
Right.
Like I would have threw a couple of them and would have wanted those back, and I would have thrown interceptions. But now I'm starting to see him recognize where and why coach is teaching me to do that. And he executed what the game plan was. And as we go forward and we get to Stefanski, this is exactly what he wanted. This was not by chance that the ball was not going downfield. It was part of a bigger scheme and master plan. And I thought he did a good enough job of taking that pressure and capitalizing when he needs to in the fourth quarter.
By the way, can we, now that he's won against his first game, can somebody get him a jacket that actually fits him? His jacket looked like he took it out of his dad's closet or something.
Intentionally, it looked that way. That was style.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I'm not
didn't
a fan
realize
of it, but that is
You
style.
know that. You know that.
One thing a couple of the offensive players were saying that they appreciated was how fast he got the ball out. Like it was coming
was.
out.
I think
coming
that
out
was the
quick.
point of emphasis all week. You
Yeah,
could tell.
get it out.
Yeah,
Especially with the tackle situation that they had up front. We've seen T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith destroy this Browns team before.
Yep.
It was get it out. And I think he deceptively threw it a little bit harder than the guys were as we go back and talk about the
that's going to
drops.
be my main point.
One of the other offensive guys is like, it's just an adjustment time. You got to get used to catching it because it was coming out different and a little bit harder than what they were. I'm not saying Deshaun doesn't throw it hard. I'm saying it's just different.
He
the way
does,
that
but
it was
this guy
coming
throws
out.
it as hard as anybody coming out of the combine.
Yeah, and it was coming out, and it was just an adjustment period for some of
So
those guys.
I went back and I started thinking. I remember a time when the Buccaneers were going through the same thing, where when they made the switch from Dilfer to Sean King, all the receivers said the same thing because they went through a period of drops. And this isn't the first time. There's other instances of this happening, particularly when you're switching from a righty to a lefty.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think I think Deshaun throws a decent ball, but what you're looking at here is the guy that throws as hard as anybody that's come out of the combine since they've been measuring that. It's just a little bit different. It's probably the difference of hitting 95 and 98. Mm-hmm. You can adjust, but you have to see it. And I remember the Bucs actually having conversations internally about, do we change the way he throws the ball? Do we change his, do we need him to take something off? No, wrong answer. DTR knows how hard he throws it. He knows what windows he can fit the ball in. The receivers, in my view, will make an adjustment, no question. But that's what I attribute all the drops to, and that's totally fixable.
I think Njoku specifically had 4 of the 7 drops because he's getting the ball, like the other guy's
really
getting
quickly.
A little further down the field.
Yeah, you're right.
He's getting these really short passes.
Yes, you're
so
absolutely
he needs
right.
The most adjustment.
It is harder to adjust it when you're closer to the quarterback. Right. The ball comes out with smoke.
Yeah.
He definitely and I don't want to change that at all. I don't want to wash that out of him.
Agreed.
The receivers will adjust. I look at the stats not in a vacuum, but as they were accumulated. The interception, I don't count against him. The drops, give him half of the drops. Now he's 28 of 43, and in a vacuum, even though it's probably only 190 yards, those are good numbers. I'm going to make a point later in the show about how offensive numbers are down. 300-yard passing games, guys. Used to be somewhat normal. Not anymore.
Every day.
Not anymore. Patrick Mahomes used to throw up 300 yards a game. He's had it 3 times this season.
Wow.
It is, I read a really good article that was written by Nate, the Yahoo guy. I've got his name. I'll dig it out. No, Nate, I think it begins with an F. He did a deep dive on the offenses and how they've regressed. And his basic conclusion was it has a lot to do with the teams allocating more assets to the defense. According to his research, in 2018, our offense has peaked. They have steadily gone down yards per game, points per game every year to where this year we're going to be the lowest in since 2008. So it's really gone back down. So we used to look at the yardstick for a great game for a quarterback was 300 yards. Not anymore. It's more like 250, maybe even less. We haven't had many 250-yard passing performances this year. And we've got 7 wins. So you can win differently this year, and that's why I love this Browns team's chances. We have a defense that will keep us in most of the games this year.
Well, it's kept you in 9 of the 10 games.
It has. We've beaten every team on our schedule this year but one. Think about that.
Yeah.
There's only 2 or 3 teams with more victories in the NFL than the Browns.
Browns are tied for the 5th best record.
Has played 11 games.
Yeah.
We've played 10. So, everything is trending. I know it looks like I'm a disaster because if you'd have given me these facts before the season started, I would have said, season's over. Yep. It's a gentleman's punt. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a draft pick and you're going to move on. Odd that Cincinnati finds themselves in that position and we find ourselves in the driver's seat in the AFC North. And I know people are going to look at me and say, no, we're not. Yes, we are. We are in the driver's seat, and the Browns control their own destiny. Win out, you win the division, and you're in the mix for home field advantage. Depending on what happens tonight in Kansas City and Philadelphia, you could still be in that conversation.
I don't think we are expecting them to win out.
Not expecting them to.
I'm not expecting anybody to win out.
But it's nice that on November 20th,
but we're having
their own.
I think it's more doable for us than Baltimore when you look at the schedules and you compare.
Baltimore's got a much tougher schedule because they haven't played San Francisco yet, and San Francisco's back to being San Francisco.
Did they look good
again.
yesterday?
Yeah.
And Kevin Stefanski is doing something where, from week to week, team looks different. The game plan is different.
When Belichick was at his best, that's what the Patriots looked like.
Right.
What does the opponent do best?
Right.
What does the opponent do worst? Attack that. Stay away from the other team's strength. That's what he's doing.
And I believe the Steelers are the best defense they're going to face the rest of this year. Starting with the Steelers for the rest of the season. Denver's got a solid defense, and
Houston's defense isn't very
Jacksonville
good.
leads the league in forced turnovers, which
it's weird though because they've given up a lot of points in other games, but their defense. But it's not as good as Pittsburgh. I'm forgetting. The Jets defense is good, but they're like
they got to score and they can't.
And it's not as good as the Browns. That's the bottom line. The Browns have the best defense. You can't. I still don't think any team. I don't think you can win with a good defense and crappy quarterback. I think if you're going to
I don't either.
I think you have to have a great defense. I think the Browns do. We'll see it now. The quarterback play's got to get better.
Do you think, Bull, that you can win the Super Bowl with a great defense and middle-of-the-road quarterback, we've seen in the past.
I think you can. I think
do
you
too.
can.
And that's a shift for you.
Huge shift.
Because at the start of the season, you were saying this is a quarterback league.
Yes.
You're not going to win it without a great quarterback. I see great play from teams this year that are not getting great play from their quarterbacks.
No, but I still think the teams like Kansas City and Philadelphia
have a big advantage.
Have an advantage.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. But there's not as many of those teams right now.
Right.
And so it's a little more open. And if the Browns can get their quarterback play to middle of the road, which I think is possible, I think they can beat anybody. I really do.
And it's not even about the Kool-Aid. Like, you could look at the third down conversions. I think the Steelers were like 3 of 12.
3 of 17.
3 of 17, something like that.
They were 3 of 17.
3 of 7. If the
Browns weren't much better. I think they were
4 of 17.
Yeah.
Yep. If the Browns get you on third down, it don't matter. You're done.
Now, it's funny. We're used to, for so many years, and I think what we're learning this year is Browns history doesn't mean much, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But we're so used to in the past, the Browns defense, it's third and 12.
Third and 8, they get 9.
Right. They give up a bunch of yards.
They did that once yesterday.
They did it once, and I was like, but what was weird is I was surprised when they gave it up.
It's funny when they do it now.
I was like, I can't believe it.
I thought the same thing.
Right?
I said, it's 3rd and 12, they get 13. You got to be kidding me.
Before this year, you would have been expecting that.
Yes, I said that's the old Browns, and that was the exception yesterday. It was
That's
the only
right.
time they did it.
Yep.
All right, here's something. I sent this to Mike before the show, and he said, "Bring it up if it fits," and it fits. He was going to save it. He was going to save it for his Friday 5, and maybe he still can. Jason Starrett's a guy I work with at The Athletic. He does all the number crunching, data analysis, and he found this and sent this to me last night. The Browns have run, listen to this, 182 more plays than their opponents this season.
It was the case yesterday.
I
think 20 plays more.
It gets better. It's nearly double the edge of any other team. Number 2 is the Cowboys at 92. It gets better. So the Browns.
Wait, what's the gap? 200 to 92?
182 to 92.
So it's double,
almost
double.
double.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the Browns have run 182 more plays, and this is really it's ball control offense, but it's really the defense and getting off the field 3 and outs.
Right.
Listen to this. The average NFL defense plays about 63 plays per game. So Browns opponents are essentially playing 3 extra games this year.
Wow.
They've been on the field for 3 extra games.
Think how that will factor in at the end of the season.
And and Mike and I were saying, I called him right before the show started as I was coming to the studio. He said they just beat you with paper cuts.
They're bringing
death
by a million cuts.
Yeah, they're bringing a paper cut to a gunfight.
It's exactly
and they just
what they're doing.
And
but you can do that today.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that before because so many offenses were striking for big plays. Big plays, explosive plays this year. Explosive offensive plays this year in the NFL, down 10%. Just from last year, which was down from the year before.
And one of the keys is that, and we'll talk more about it later, but that they have a great kicker this year because Hopkins is.
Oh, what a difference! What a difference he's made.
And punter. and
punter.
The way they can flip,
they
in fact, flip the field. I think that kind of folds into coaching in general. Look at the job Callahan has done with Band-Aids. He has done a marvelous job. Special teams. They've had moments where they haven't been great, but in general, particularly now that they've got the right guy back there to return punts, special teams now looks like one of the better special teams units in the game.
Yeah.
Defense with Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
This coaching staff, guys, looks phenomenal.
They're doing things out of sorts and out of wits. Earlier in the show, we talked about them doing some different things. It's funny that Kevin Stefanski actually was like, you know what? I'm going to plan for this thing to come down to the last play. I'm going to play to my defense, and I'm going to say, okay, whoever has this ball last has the best chance of winning the football game. Mm-hmm. So he said in the second half, he's like, listen, we're not going to run anything to give them anything. I got in my back pocket about 5 plays. I'm not showing them 5 vertical routes or 5 plays the whole entire game. We're going to save that for when it counts. Because you notice that the announcer kept talking about it. They got to go downfield. They got to go downfield.
Said it the whole game.
He said it the whole game.
Yeah.
And they kept running the ball, kept keeping it short. But that last drive, it was so masterful because it's difficult to call defensive plays. It's a thing to call defensive plays when you're at 14. But when you're up 3 points or you're down 3 points or the game is tied, defensive coordinators lock up. And then they say, well, it's a 50-50 proposition. I don't know if I want to play man coverage because
Sure.
it could be pass interference. So you're going to get a little cushion.
Yeah.
It's a natural cushion.
And they took advantage of it.
And he took advantage of them on them 5 plays in the
Yes.
fourth quarter.
And to your point on the defense, how big was it that after, Jaylen Warren breaks the big run, right? You 10-7.
Oh.
Then the Steelers had the field position edge the whole second half.
Yep.
And the defense, they gave up the 1 field goal, but after that, they had a couple of drives where the Steelers really only needed to go 10, 15 yards to get a field goal to take the lead. And they did not let
pushed
it
them
get
backwards.
They pushed them backwards. It was huge.
Mike, do your read.
I'll do a read. I'll send it right back
Okay.
to you guys. And I know people in the chat are asking for Joe Flacco. We'll talk Joe Flacco after we do Kevin
We will.
Stefanski here. But FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It is unquestioned, undeniable, and a UCSS fact, according to myself, Mikey McNuggets, the official validator of all sportsbooks in America. You can Google that. No one has more official validation on sportsbook than I do. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and they have everything you can imagine to bet on, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
All right, very good. One thing quick, I'm probably the only guy old enough to remember this. I know none of you guys will remember this. Maybe some of our viewers will. Watching yesterday, DTR wearing number 17 and Jerome Ford wearing number 34, I was having flashbacks to Brian Sipe, Greg Pruitt, and the Cardiac Kids.
Somebody said that in the post game. They were
Did they?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 people said that.
It really did. It reminded me of 1979 and Brian Sipe pulling victory out of his ass time and time again. I think 9 times they trailed in the fourth quarter and came back to win that year. It was nuts. And it reminded me a little bit of that yesterday in the fourth quarter on that last drive.
You know what I want to shout out to? I've been challenging these fans for about a whole half a year. Every barbershop I'm talking about the fans, y'all got a job to do. Don't give up your tickets. And from what I heard in the stadium, it was one of the loudest crowds that we've had in a very long time. I love you guys banging on them fences.
That was awesome.
Keep banging on them fences.
And banging on the seats, the floor.
Because I could hear that at home. I was getting chills. I'm like, oh, man, this is home field advantage.
And the crowd, after the
one terrible towel that got turned into a toilet paper.
And that was funny. After the Warren touchdown, the crowd for a minute was silent.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers score the field goal. You're like, oh no, the momentum's starting to change. Yeah. But the crowd got back into it. The defense buckled up again.
It did.
And it was huge. And to talk about about Kevin Stefanski, because I know we're getting to Stefanski. Mm-hmm. G, you brought up the point. That. Did you guys see the movie Braveheart?
Yes.
Okay, everybody's seen
That's
Braveheart.
so
Jason,
stupid.
have you seen Braveheart?
Yeah. I was just watching.
You know that scene where they're talking about you can't win without horses, and these are right. And the English forces, they're riding in on their horses, and the Scottish forces are there, and the main guy William Wallace is like, hold. Hold, hold,
right.
And then the last second they pull out the tree trunks and they kill all the freaking horses. Yeah, they didn't actually really get killed in the movie. They were taken care of. But that's what Kevin Stefanski did. Yeah. He was dying to throw the ball down the field. He loves throwing it down the field. And the whole game he's saying, hold,
exactly.
Hold.
It's a great analogy.
And everybody was talking about it. Everybody on Twitter. Charles Davis was every third play was like, you got to throw it down the field. You got to throw it down the field. And then He released the dogs on the last drive, as you said. He said, now go. They don't expect it, and it worked.
Now, moving forward.
It was risky.
It was risky, and
Risky
you're right.
as hell.
I loved your analogy, too. This is a dangerous game to play.
When did you start scheming?
We got 2 great
Why you
analogies.
scheming
He
now?
was in the barbershop one time this weekend, G, and he comes out
That's
with
it.
smoothie.
That's what I love, though. They fed into one another. Like they were both exactly dead on the money. So here's a question now moving forward. So Joe Flacco's coming in.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Before we get there, before we go to Joe.
We're on Stefanski. We'll do Flacco after Stefanski.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you were talking about that, it kind of plays into what I said. I was talking to one of the players in the locker room, made me think of you, because I wrote after the game, extend them now. Andrew and Kevin should get extensions right now. They've earned it. But you want to bounce things off players and say, you think I'm crazy for writing this. And one of the players said, I think what he's done a really good job of is coaching with his gut. He coaches with his gut more than he used to. And it isn't just by the book analytics of we need to do this because this is what we're supposed to do. He understands the momentum of the game better. He relies on his defense more. He weaponizes the punter You know, he knows what a tool he has now in the punting game. And
you think that's on his own, or is that a shift in the organization?
No, I think it's realizing what you have.
Because I have noticed the exact same thing. What I've noticed is, and not just him, but league-wide, I'm noticing a big return to the old days. Not that teams are still more aggressive with their play calling, but I'm now seeing teams punting the ball more than they were the last couple of years in those midfield situations. And
if you have a good defense, you're going to do it more often.
Well, listen, that's the safety net. We called it Jim Trussell ball earlier this week or last week. He played Jim. Jim Trussell had to watch that game at the edge of his seat, and when it was over, he said, "That's the best game I've ever seen."
I had to check Stefanski for a sweater vest. I see he got a vest up underneath that belt.
There were times.
The punt is the most important play in football.
There were times watching this game that the offense, I was like, oh, this is like watching Brockport Division III football on offense. That's what it looked like.
The whole game. The offenses were inept. Yeah. They were both inept on both sides of the football.
Except for Jalen Warren.
I think the Browns outgained the Steelers. This is the first time this year. And the Browns' total offense, what was it?
260
250? 260?
Look it up right now, not off the top of my head, but it was not high. I mean, neither team. Offensively,
neither team got 300 yards.
We said offensive back a couple of years ago. The Browns continued their streak of outgaining the Steelers, 259 to 249, which means the Steelers now in 10 games this season have not outgained their opponent.
And they are falling apart. You got that let's play that clip of Najee Harris. Did you guys see this?
Najee Harris.
You got that, Mike? Can we play it for a second, then we'll get back to Stefanski here?
I do. Steve, you want to take that? We're full. Hit play.
I don't know if you guys all saw this.
Do you think everybody has that team-first attitude?
Do I think everybody has a team first on this team?
Yeah.
I'd rather not talk about the team. I'd rather just talk about me, my performance. If you want to ask questions about me.
Guys, we have to go back to Pittsburgh. Thank you.
You think they were 3-7 with that?
And I think that was probably someone from Steelers media relations.
Oh yeah,
yelling.
She was panicking.
That if you would have covered up the face and just give me the text, that's something the Browns players typically
100%.
say after a Steelers game. Mm-hmm. I had not seen that bull. That's fascinating.
Right? Like they're 6-4. It shouldn't be a disaster.
And they're the first team out of the playoffs right now, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
So they're like, they're
not out of it at all.
Not at all.
But that looks awful.
You know what that's the signs of that we've been there. That's a sign of somebody being like, we ain't got no quarterback. When you ain't got no quarterback, that's like having your water cut off at the house. You can live without all the other stuff, gas, electricity, but you got to have water for a lot of things. And he's sitting there thirsty as hell being like, we just lost to the third string quarterback for the Browns who's a rookie. And we got our guy, our starting guy. Players like that do not expect to lose to guys that are third-string quarterbacks, and that's what he felt they lost to.
And the Steelers, by the way, their talent on offense is not that bad. It's their quarterback stinks. I mean, I know everybody talks about the OC. I think their quarterback just stinks. The OC's part of the problem, but I thought Pickett stunk from the moment he came into the league.
The OC might be a product of the limited skills at quarterback.
Yeah,
because look, you're not calling certain plays if you don't think you've got the quarterback that can carry them out.
Yes.
And the one thing I wanted to ask on Stefanski and DTR moving forward was, it was a dangerous game he played, no question. But to your point, that's not going to work all the way through the playoffs.
No, but he knows that. Yeah.
Do you think, Jay, he's more likely now to take the chains off of DTR, particularly the way he handled that last game drive, build some confidence? DTR was emotional when the game was over, guys. He was
wiping
tears.
That was cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
But it also tells me that he was carrying a huge burden.
Yeah.
And I think those were tears of relief. Wow, I didn't blow it.
Yeah.
I don't know that necessarily they're going to take a lot of the chains off. You're on the road now for the next 2 weeks, and Denver's not an easy place to play, and the altitude and everything else. I think you're going to see a very similar game plan of keep it short, get it out quick, and keep everything simple, keep everything in front of you. We talk about it all the time. Screens, extra linemen, and play action, take a deep shot on third down. Now, the deep shot, I did expect it to come. I thought because the Steelers, and Tyvis and I talked about this at halftime, Tyvis said they're just going to sit on the routes.
They had everybody within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage the entire game.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Browns really, once Pittsburgh figured out they're not throwing it at all, that's normally when Kevin takes his shot. Once you pull him in, that's when he's going to take a shot deep.
But
get one-on-one on the outside
the run game. The run game is going nowhere. If every team we play moving forward has all 11 defenders within 10 yards of the ball, you're not running it.
No.
So
but even in the first half, they couldn't run the ball.
Should we make an elite joke?
No.
Or let it go.
Let's let it go.
Here's what I will say.
Yeah.
They only went down one spot in the yards per game.
Again, they didn't run the ball.
I'll say this.
They were short of 100 yards, which I thought they'd go over 100 yards for the game.
Give them credit.
They're not running it. If the defense plays like this all year, the run game's over.
When you get Hayward back, Hayward is a dominant. I mean, this guy is supreme when it comes to stopping the run. Like, Hayward is a monster. Like, he's dominated for years and years and years. So, when I saw what they was coming out in, they had 2-3 techniques and a nose. You're not running against that. That's almost like a 5-2. Like, they had guys sitting up there. That's why I love the game plan so much, because he said, look, I only got 5 throws. I got about 5 plays, and I'm not going to show you them yet. Our goal is to keep it simple and keep it close the whole game. And then we're going to see how much. See, the difference between
what a
Schwartz.
poker face, though, to hold on.
The difference between Schwartz and everybody else is Schwartz don't care. The same defense you're getting in, you're going to get it in the fourth quarter.
Right.
That's why you can get somebody off the field in 14 seconds.
It's aggressive. It's attack.
They wasted 14 seconds on the clock and gave the ball back to the Browns. That's how quick they got him off the field.
Why did we call a timeout at the end of the game?
Oh, okay.
Did Stefanski address that?
Well, that's the only criticism I have. So they called the timeout
with 19 seconds left.
And then they ran and had to scramble to I didn't understand why they didn't reverse it.
I don't know
why didn't they spike and then call the timeout with 3 seconds left. That was my only question for Stefanski.
Running through my brain thinking, what good reason is there?
I didn't understand that. Did you?
To use that timeout there.
Zach and I talked about it live. I don't remember, and I forgot to ask Kevin about it after the game.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
It was really the only criticism I had. The other things, I thought
the challenges.
I would have challenged the safety for sure.
We got to fire the coach who tells Stefanski when to challenge or not, because ultimately.
So what's weird about that?
There?
He threw the flag,
but it was too late.
But then in the post game, he said he was asking if it was challengeable, and it was, and then they decided not to do it anyway. And we're like, but you threw the flag. So that was a little bit confusing. And then the one that he did challenge on the fourth down spot.
Challenge.
Yeah, I didn't like that challenge at all. It worked out.
And they had plenty of time. Because
it was like a timeout on the field.
I know.
And I was texting with our subscribers. I'm like, well, they must have a really good feeling about this because they had plenty of time to look at this one.
Yeah, I didn't
And then we saw the replay and it wasn't even close.
Well, I think what happened is he must have gotten confused because the players were jumping on the helmet.
Right.
Because Pickett's helmet came out and went backwards, and you saw players piling on the helmet, but Pickett was already way past the line.
Someone's got to check.
Yeah.
I'm 99.9% sure that when the helmet comes off, the progress is dead.
I thought that's what he was going with.
So I'm saying, he's going to challenge because his helmet came off.
Yep.
Because I think it's a rule.
No, I was going to bring that up.
Okay.
That is the rule, and I'm not sure, and I have to double check, and I don't even know if you could find this. When you challenge the spot, can the referee go back and retroactively respot the ball from where the helmet came off? Because they didn't blow up dead, but it may
I don't know if it's challengeable. I don't know that, but I do know this: it is a rule. So I think it allows the replay official to look at that. When did the helmet come off?
But obviously,
and then determine that's where the progress was stopped.
Side note on all that: I didn't see it live, but I saw on social media. It's hysterical. Myles picking up the quarterback's helmet. Freaking hilarious to have Myles with the Steelers helmet. And it was, do we have the clip of that, Mike? Did you pull it?
I'll pull it in.
It is hysterical.
I actually didn't see it.
I mean, it goes back to the helmet swing.
Sure,
Myles holding the helmet, and one of the Steelers players came up and grabbed it, and Myles is like, all right. But it was
great.
And you just have to see the video. He sort of flinches
a moment of levity.
Seconds.
To the point on the replay of the safety, it actually worked in the Browns' favor. Because
the way it played out, it did. Yeah.
Right. Obviously,
you're still going to take the 2 points in the moment.
But had they gotten the 2 points, the Browns started that drive at the 50.
Midfield, right.
Maybe they would have started it there. You would have to go a lot further. Who knows if they would have scored there?
You punt from the 20, and typically you can punt the ball 60 to 65 yards in the air. So they probably would have been significantly behind the 50-yard line.
So it's not unreasonable to think that the Browns may not have scored on that.
No, you're
drive.
right, and that was their lone touchdown drive.
That's right.
That was it.
It was. Hey, I got the play, by the way, after Kenny Pickett lost his helmet. If you guys
all right, let's see this.
There's the scrum. Here's Myles getting up.
Okay.
With the helmet.
Look what I found.
Pull it back.
Hey, look, he's like, hey. No. Listen. That's hilarious.
That is fantastic.
I would love to have a mic down there.
That is really good.
Nah, fam. You ain't getting no.
Listen, if you watch any game, there's always going to be a couple plays where you scratch your head about what the coach did. But I thought Stefanski once again was magnificent.
Marvelous.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I just didn't understand.
And I agree
why
with Jason that you should extend him right now. I don't know that I'm in agreement with Andrew Berry, but I can live with it.
We can get into that later on. But he nailed. Listen, I told you when they drafted DeJuan Jones, it's not about talent; it's about maturity. He's been terrific. DeJuan has been great.
How much time do each have on their deals?
Kevin has 1 year left, so you would extend him after this year.
Yeah.
I don't know Barry's off the top of my head, but I would imagine they run pretty close.
Okay, I would think they'd be concurrent too. Here's what I would say to that.
Keep it. I'm fine with it.
In the past, let more hay come into the barn. Let's see. And here's why. There's no need to do it. Nobody can sign him right now. There's no race.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So finish the season. 7-3 now looks great.
Yeah.
I've seen 7-3 turn into 8-9.
And I guess
I'm not predicting that.
Why I would do it now is because he has earned it to this point. And if it hits the fan and it goes off the rails, we just got done saying they're down to their 4th and 5th tackles. They don't have their franchise quarterback. They don't. So if it winds up at 9-8 or 10-7, I still think he earns it because of all that they've overcome.
I've seen in the recent past, teams make emotional moves that they don't need to make.
Oh, the Browns do it all the time.
I know they do, but there's no reason to continue doing that. I thought when the Giants signed Daniel Jones off last year, I'm like, wow. Can't we see a little bit more of that before we decide that we're going to make this guy a franchise-paid quarterback?
Well,
he was in the last year of his deal. That's a little different.
Okay, that one's different. He played great. He played really well, and they went all in on him.
But, Jay, the argument would be that Daniel Jones had one good year, and I think Jason and I would both argue that Kevin Stefanski has been good
it's not
his
an argument.
entire time here.
I don't know that you'd say his entire time. He's had 2 really good seasons. He's had 2 seasons that they underperformed, so I can't say he was really good all 4 years.
But also,
I don't think they underperformed last year.
All that being said, I want him re-signed.
Yeah.
I just don't see the urgency to do it before this season's over.
That's fair, I guess.
I just want to see more of it.
I just think that he's earned it now because of where they're at, and I fear that if it does unravel here at the end, everyone's like, get rid of him. I'm like, no, guys, look what he had to work with. Look what he's had to deal with, and look where he's got.
The good news is, I don't think it's going to unravel.
I don't either. I don't either.
And look, let's just let it play out. I believe it's going to continue. I don't know that they're going to, continue to win at a 7-3 rate. But I think they're going to win. If they win 11 games, they're home for one playoff game.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't sign it. Like, if I was him, I'd bet on myself. And if he goes into the playoffs and they get to the playoffs, what we've seen happen, he's going to be coach of the year. There's no other candidate, really.
I think Dan Campbell in Detroit, Mike McDaniels in Miami, because he just won a couple years ago.
What's his name?
DeMeco Ryans.
That's a good one. But for me, I would look at it like this. If they keep winning these football games with third-team quarterbacks and all these injuries, I mean,
he's certainly going to be in the mix.
There's no better job than what he's done. You take C.J. Stroud away. They're not doing that.
So that would be the urgency right there. If this guy goes on to win a Super Bowl, the price of Kevin Stefanski goes up dramatically.
Well, you're going to have to do it. You don't want to lambda the coach. You don't want a coach going into the last year of his deal with. So the time to do it is this offseason. You would do it this offseason.
Something this offseason.
Yeah. But to your point, and this would be the reason why you would do it now, if you're sitting in the front office and you're thinking, this team could go all the way. This team could go to a Super Bowl. The price of Kevin Stefanski with every game he wins probably goes up a little bit.
I don't think Jimmy's worried. If he has the right coach, I don't think he cares. The one thing I'll give him credit for, I don't think he cares how much
he'll
has to spend
spend money where it's not against the cap.
The person you need to extend today is Jim Schwartz. I need him.
He just got here.
Well, it doesn't matter, though, G. If he wants to leave to be a head coach, no matter how many years you give him, he can leave.
I've asked around, is he a candidate? He absolutely is going to be a candidate. At his age, he will be a candidate. So it's a little too early to start talking about.
I'm not going to worry about
consensus. That. I got a couple of guys that say, well, hell yeah, he's a candidate. Look what he's done. A couple of other guys have said age and previous experience as a head coach
will
will work against him. And obviously you can see why that would be the case.
Teams like going with young coaches these days.
I know they do.
He left yesterday's game in sunglasses and an orange puffy vest.
Just chilling.
Strutting through the locker room.
He's a boss. There's no question about that.
Remember
He's a boss.
When the Browns, when the Steelers got the ball at 10-10 and they had it started their drive at the Browns 40-yard line.
Was that after the 25-yard punt?
Right, yes.
Yes.
And then the Browns stopped him. He was going nuts on the sideline. He was right deep.
He's the best.
He was using some words I'm not going to say. But
I remember that drive specifically
Yeah.
because I think that was the one where we just dodged a big
Oh, yeah.
bully.
That was his only
After
bad
the
punt all year,
25-yard
really.
punt, I started thinking,
Yeah.
again, you can beat me up for this, but
Yeah.
58 years of history.
Here we go.
Here we go.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't.
And by the way, once again, a penalty flag on the final field goal. And for a moment, you're like, oh, no. And again, it was against the other.
It pauses the celebration. I hate that. In the moment.
Yeah. Didn't the Browns only get called for one penalty?
One penalty,
penalty
10
all
yards.
game.
I wanted
All
to point
game.
that out.
Yeah.
That was on my game notes.
Yeah.
One penalty.
That was it.
10 yards.
It seemed like a big one.
It was a big one.
Because it was right after the touchdown by the Steelers.
You start first and 20.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, my God, this is ending in a punt.
Because they had gotten a first down on that play, I think, or got 9 yards maybe.
They
something
did.
Like
They had a big pass completion that was right around the first down, and it came back. So it was really a 20-yard penalty.
And then he gave up a sack. Hudson gave up a sack right after the illegal use of hands.
But again, those guys did a good job.
For the most part, they did.
Bill Callahan, can we make a statue for an offensive line coach in Cleveland?
Pay him some more money,
I'm
too.
good with that. I think he's the highest paid position coach in the league.
Listen,
non-coordinator. I think I read that too.
I'm stopping him. I'm sending a turkey filled with cash. Right for Thanksgiving. Both of them, Jim Schwartz,
Take one of those presidential pardon turkeys.
Yeah. There you go. That presidential power turkey is like that. That's a get out of jail.
Kevin said he's never rotated tackles like they did yesterday with DeWine.
That's very
Hudson.
You know what I thought of? The situation dictated it, but I thought earlier this year I asked the question. We see it on the defensive side where guys are going with fresh legs and situational. Are we getting to the point offensively where we see that? It was because they had to. It was out of necessity. But I loved it. It's kind of like when baseball, when you need to bunt, what do? You put the pinch hitter in that can lay down the bunt. When the situation calls for it, and by the way, when you put a guy in who's better in pass block and it's 3rd and 12, everybody in the stadium knows what they're doing.
That's why you're only going to do it in obvious
extreme
passing.
situations.
Yeah, right.
But I'm all for it. I would like to see more rotation of offensive linemen so they can have fresh legs. Because one of the things that we've seen in this, if we all can agree that we're moving towards a more defensive game, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that these defensive linemen, it started in Philly a couple of years ago as a trend, but now everybody's doing it. You watch that position more closely than anyone. To me, it seems like the rotation and the situational use of those guys, they're using more of them, and their play count is down, and that's making them
There's
fresh.
a lot of reasons. I think that's part of it. I think part of the reason this year it's so stark is because there's been so many injuries to quarterbacks.
Well, that might be because the defensive linemen are fresh.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, they're getting free more. They're going against somebody who's in wrestling. One of the great equalizers is you're both the same. You both expended the same amount of energy.
Right.
But in football, if the defensive lineman has played 42 plays and he's going against an offensive lineman that's played 60 plays, give me the defensive
But that's
lineman.
always, not always, but that hasn't. I don't know that that's that much different than it was 3-5 years ago.
I don't know. That's why I asked G.
Well, defensive linemen, you swap out guys like me, everything is getting downsized. If I played again, I wasn't fast enough. I ran like a 4.81. That ain't fast. That's not killing them. Now listen, if I switch to play left tackle, we like that. You're athletic, you play basketball. Hey, you can block some of these guys. Now you got guys running 4.4s. They've cheated the game. Like they got thoroughbreds.
But are they playing fewer plays in your mind?
Yes, they're playing fewer plays, and they're faster, and they're more in shape, and they got 2 or 3 waves of guys coming in. To me, the defensive line is almost just as important as a quarterback. Because if the Browns or a team that doesn't have a great quarterback can prove that if I can get top-notch defensive pass rushers and I can win with those guys and have a medium quarterback, you'll see a lot of other teams doing that.
Yeah, and on this team, Myles Garrett by far is the most important player.
Oh,
by miles. It's Myles by miles.
The sack rate is 7.2% right now.
Yeah.
That's the highest. This is in the red zone. Jason, you made a point earlier about how teams are kind of giving up yards between the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stats that I found on this rising defensive prowess was particularly in the red zone. And one of the things that really jumped out to me was the sack rate inside the red zone now is at 7.2%. That's the highest since they've been tracking this stat.
Wow.
Most of these stats go back to 2000 because that's when the game really got, I think, slowed down for all these numbers.
I think this offseason is going to be huge for the offensive minds in this league to counteract
to make
what's
the adjustment.
happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clearly what we're seeing is, in my view, it's just an adjustment to the offenses and not all, but most of the assets going toward the offensive side. Around 2018, but really around 2020, the league now is allocating more assets to the defensive side of the ball, and you're starting to see this renaissance in defensive philosophy. It kind of ebbs and flows. Once upon a time, defense won championships, but that wasn't the case in the late
we'll see if it's
teens.
going to be fascinating to see the playoffs this year.
What happens to the Kansas Cities and Philadelphia's when they run into the Cleveland Browns.
Right, but the thing is, those teams have good defenses too.
They do.
Not as good as the Browns.
The Chiefs' defense is really good.
Yes.
I think the Chiefs right now should scare the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
Even though they're not doing
Patrick
what they
Mahomes,
usually do.
One thing real quick, and then we'll talk Joe Flacco. Offensive line play across the league has been down, and there are fewer and fewer healthy, good offensive linemen, which certainly helps defensive linemen get to the quarterback at a higher rate. Guys, if you're watching, we appreciate every single one who's watching. We have over 4,500 people watching live right now.
Nice.
We love each and every one. Hit the like button. Do us a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. You'd be amazed at how much that does for us, for UCSS on the back end inside of YouTube's algorithm. So if you can, it's totally free. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We talk about the future of football, offensive adjustments to what defense has done. But let's go back in time a little bit to 2012. The Super Bowl winning quarterback that year is now the Browns practice squad quarterback. That is Joe Flacco, who they signed this morning. He's expected to be elevated to the active roster. And, guys, we talked about it on Friday when they worked out Joe Flacco. They didn't sign him, but he is now part of the Cleveland Browns. It is official. And what are your thoughts on Joe Flacco joining the Browns quarterback room?
I like it, guys, and I'm fine with him being here, but I hope he never plays a game for the Browns.
That's right.
I want first of all, with this right now, the Browns' offensive line a little leaky, and DTR is able to make plays with his legs. He made a couple of big plays with his legs. Joe Flacco is incapable of doing that. He can't do anything with his legs. So listen, unless DTR is a complete disaster, I mean, he's turning the ball over at a crazy rate. Joe Flacco has no upside. Zero, zilch, nothing.
Well, experience.
No, but I'm saying what he does on the field, we know there's no secret part of his game that at 40 all of a sudden is going to come out. We don't know what DTR is.
Wait, how old is Joe Flacco?
How old do you think he is?
I'd say he's 35.
38.
38?
No, he's 38. I think he's about to turn 39.
Okay.
Okay. So I look at DTR and I say, I don't know where the ceiling is. The odds are it's a lot higher than what Joe Flacco's ceiling is at this point in his career. Joe Flacco's a limited...
Well, moving forward, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
Joe's best football's behind him. DTR's is ahead.
Right, and so I'm going to keep playing DTR because he made big improvements from his first start to his second start.
Right.
As long as the arrow continues to point up ever so slightly, that's fine because the turnover was not his fault. He didn't really make any dangerous throws in this game that were like, oh my God, they got lucky that wasn't intercepted. Joe Flacco has been on the couch and he's 38 years old. So I'm not playing him unless I feel like I'll play him over P.J. Walker.
Yeah.
Because I know P.J. Walker has no upside.
He's basically the insurance policy.
Yes, but I'm hoping that DTR continues to show little progress,
Yeah.
that by the time we get to the playoffs, he's reached that adequate level, and with a great defense, they can win that way, hopefully. But I have no interest in Flacco.
Do you guys agree
playing.
with that?
Yeah, I don't want to see him.
I'm exactly the same place. I don't want to see him unless there's an injury or unless DTR is 9 of 24 with 4 picks.
Right.
Then break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah,
and give me
right. That
Joe Flacco.
situation.
His most value should come in the film room, in the quarterback room during the week.
Right.
Deshaun, I think, is going to have the surgery this week, so he's probably going to be out.
Right.
She was at the game yesterday, but he's not going to be around this week for game prep.
Sure.
It's it's a veteran who's seen it all, who knows it all, who's experienced it all.
In this division.
Yeah.
I think it's like a second offensive coordinator who's won a Super Bowl.
So I think in that regard, he can be invaluable. If you put him on the field expecting to win you a game, God help you.
Yeah,
like,
you're in trouble.
He can't move.
But if he's the last option, I think he's better than P.J.
I'd
Walker.
rather have him out there than P.J. Walker.
I don't think there's really anything bad about this.
No.
Someone texted me this morning, ooh, Deshaun's going to be pissed. No, he's not.
No.
Why? Because to your point, well, he's like, oh, why are they bringing a veteran in to do what Deshaun can do? Well, Deshaun can't step on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
And Joe can't. And that's the difference.
The thing that I guess just annoys me a little bit is like, why didn't you do this a month ago?
I know.
And Zach and I had this discussion, and he said timing's important, and Deshaun just got ruled out for the season recently, and if you go back and you look week by week by week, I guess you can make a case for why this didn't happen. I agree. I think Flacco's probably better than P.J. Walker.
Yeah.
Even though he's been golfing up until yesterday, he's probably still better.
Is there a reason that we haven't thought of that organizationally, like contract? Because it was weird. They brought him in last week, sent him home without signing him, and I thought, well,
they probably had an unwritten agreement, right?
I think, no one told me this.
Oh.
I think we talk about the cap all the time. Every dollar matters. Why would you? It's a game check if you sign him on Friday.
and he can't play.
He's not going to play.
No.
Why would you give him that prorated money for that week? If you wait an extra week, the money comes down, the cap number comes down. It's not much, but it's margin. But it matters. If he's not going to play, why do it? You have to. And in terms of practice squad spots and 53s and everything else, I think.
Did
it's
you
more
think they had a
procedural than
handshake
anything.
deal? Because my fear
Probably.
was this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit, he's on the. He's taking a flight to Cincinnati right now, and the Bengals are going to sign him.
No, I think that they knew when he left how it was going to go.
Okay.
I think we're downplaying this a little bit too much. The reason I like this move, and I think it's a home run, is because you get somebody that is going to be able to accelerate the learning curve for DTR. He's going to be able to tell him this is what you're looking for in this coverage. He was going to be able to tell him how to break apart films, and more importantly, I think the Cleveland Browns are telling you that this is the anti-punt move. Actually, they're going for this.
They're all
fourth
in.
and one.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, okay, if we got one quarterback to go out and get, which one can we get that really makes a difference in a pinch? I thought they looked at what happened with the San Francisco 49ers last year and said the San Francisco 49ers was at a place where their defense was playing lights out and they could not beat the Eagles because they didn't have a quarterback. George Kittle was ready to take direct snaps.
That's a fact.
In one-game scenarios, if DTR gets you to the playoffs, or even it looks like they're going to be in the playoffs, and DTR gets knocked out of that game, he's mobile, he's slight of frame.
He is tiny.
He is little.
For one game,
Yeah.
and the defense has not had any tape on Joe Flacco, he could win you one game.
Yeah, I mean, just you're 100%
He
right.
win you that game.
DTR gets knocked out in the second quarter. I got to play 2.5 quarters with P.J. Walker or Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Give me Joe Flacco every time.
98% of Browns fans will say, if they're being honest, Flacco's coming into the game in the third quarter. The Browns are down 3. You're up here. Here comes P.J. Walker. You know what fans are saying. Oh, no, I've seen this before.
You know what that is. And so my thing is, Joe Flacco was a guy, and you're just looking to hit lightning in a bottle. They want to get the Cardell Jones here. They want to get a guy, maybe Jeff Hostetler, something like that. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to just say, all right, we're going to take this room and we're going to take the combined, necessary traits from each one of you guys and try to get one quarterback out of 3. And we'll mix it up and figure it out. But I like what they're doing. This move tells me that they think that they can make the playoffs and they're going to be in the playoffs
I
this year.
agree,
Of course,
it's a home run, but I have one major concern, is that he doesn't fit the room or the playbook. That's my only concern.
But Kevin Stefanski has shown you, I'm able to adapt and mold.
Yeah,
He's moving different with his playbook now. DTR didn't have any run really, like he hasn't run any RPOs or run any read options.
He did those only he did on third down twice. They did the QB draw
I wanted to see more of
Watt's
that.
side, but that was all he did. And I'm assuming they didn't run more because they need him to stay healthy, right? I assume
you lost
he's
your
so
starting
slight of
quarterback
frame.
on a run.
Yeah, I know.
So,
That changes the way you look at things moving forward.
If Joe Flacco does not take a snap, I think we're all going to be happy. That's a good sign. If Joe
that means
Flacco
DTR is healthy and playing well.
Yeah,
because I think the only way you break
Means he's
that glass
balling.
is if it's an emergency. You're either down big and he's played horribly, or he's injured.
I wonder if they're not. I don't think they're going to want to keep 3 quarterbacks on the active roster. They may have to cut P.J. Walker and then bring him back on the practice squad.
I don't know. I don't know the rules well enough. I don't know if they can do that because he was already on the practice squad. They elevated him 3 times. They put him on the 53. So maybe if he clears waivers, maybe they'd have to release him. He would clear
is anybody
waivers.
picking him up?
Probably not. And then he would go back. I think. But I don't know. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think if they cut him, they could just initially re-sign him back to practice squad because they already elevated him 3 times and had to sign him off the practice squad.
I think they only elevated him twice.
No, they did 3.
Was
They
it
did
3?
It was 3, yeah.
I thought it was only 2,
Yeah.
but all right.
Because
No, it was
if they send him back down the 3rd time, then he goes through waivers. They have to
Right.
reclaim him. So
Yeah, but again, who's claiming him?
It's funny.
that's a fair point too.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any rules changes on the horizon when it comes to quarterbacks in specific? One of the things that I noticed, and this is fantasy football, but it's kind of the same thing. The quarterbacks they're very slim picking. We know that, but there are situations more this year than any before because we've already had 50 quarterbacks in the league take snaps, start games. Where
it's going to be more because you can add a few more this week.
You are.
Yeah.
So I'm almost wondering what the rules committee is going to do in terms of, or maybe this is a negotiation between the Players Association and
I don't know
the
what
league.
else you could do.
Well,
They already did it
more,
this year.
To more protect these quarterbacks, where in this situation, like if the Browns were to lose P.J. Walker, not that he's a commodity, but the league wants good quarterback play. Everybody agrees.
I don't know
that.
what else they already basically wrap them in
You're saying in
pillows.
terms of roster?
Yeah,
I mean
rosters.
Oh,
They're protecting these guys.
Well,
so
they
that-
did change
so
the
you have a
rule.
little, I know, but so you have even more flexibility moving forward to protect a guy like DTR.
Every team should be
Or,
able to
PJ.
use a third quarterback in case of injury.
No, I know they changed
Yeah.
that. They
Well,
changed that rule.
They have to be. You have to carry him on the 53.
Right. Doesn't have to be on the 45.
Right.
but
So
that's
what
not-
I'm wondering is
Yeah.
there some sort of an exemption that we can pass where you put them on the quarterback, but every team on your practice squad, rather, gets an exemption for quarterback where you can't lose these guys? Because the league, it's in the best interest that the league gets good quarterback play.
Right, but it's not fair to the player if they could be on an active roster.
It's not,
somewhere
but
else.
you can financially make it so it's less punitive.
I don't know
Yeah.
that the Players Association.
I don't
would go
think
for
they would
that.
agree to
And
that.
how often do you pluck a quarter? It's happened. It's definitely happened.
It's happening more it feels like it's happening more now.
It'd be interesting to look into to see if teams are plucking quarterbacks.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's been that many plucked off practice
The
squads.
Browns did it with Nick Mullins, right? Didn't they lose him get him from
they got him, I think, that way.
from another team?
I just think any guy that's on a practice squad, if he got picked up, you find someone else.
I know, but as we're dwindling down into the quarterbacks available, I don't think it's in the league's best interest to have situations where it's happened this year and last year where Baker came in, 2 days notice, started for the Rams, won somehow.
Yeah.
This year it happened with Dobbs, who looked pretty good last night in defeat again.
He won also the game
But
playing after 2 days. But
he
he
did.
wasn't supposed to. The quarterback they had got hurt.
Right, exactly.
In the game, yeah.
I don't know. Sacks are going way up in the NFL.
Yeah.
Quarterback injuries seem to be going up. I don't know if that's
you look at the
anecdotal or provable.
I think teams will adjust.
But I mean,
don't know.
Aaron Rodgers, it was an Achilles. It wasn't a contact injury.
No.
Joe Burrow was a ligament. It wasn't really a contact.
Well, we don't know
Deshaun
when
was a contact, but it was a
Burrow's
called run.
injury started.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
it just
Could have happened in practice,
I just
for all
think
we
it's an overreaction to say they got to do something to. I think they already. I know you were talking roster, but on the field, I can see where this is going. We're going to talk about you got to protect the quarterback.
They're already protected.
Yeah,
as much
I know,
as you
but
can
if you
on
look
the
at the
field.
specific injuries, it's
Yeah.
not like it was they were standing in the pocket.
It's
and
just
they
been
were
a bad year,
blindsided
and it
on
is
the head.
bad. Listen, the league wants offense and good quarterbacks.
Especially like in
Yeah.
the NFC Championship game last year.
Right.
When Brock Purdy,
That's a bad
who
situation.
suddenly became the savior, and now he's unavailable, and you're looking at George Kittle. Like, I don't want George Kittle to take snaps
Right.
in an NFC
Right,
Championship
nobody
game
wants
as a
that
fan.
situation.
I
So
don't
that's
It's just
that's
bad
pretty
luck.
rare.
It's just bad luck.
It is, but I'm just
And
wondering,
they
are we
changed the
trending
rule,
more towards that?
But they changed the rule because of that specific game where now
Yes.
you can have
They
that
did.
third emergency
They
quarterback.
did, and-
So we can see what's coming. But you mentioned last week, or I mentioned it, then you referenced it again, and it's going to happen. The number's going up. 49 different quarterbacks have started this year.
Yes.
49. That's
Well,
more than
this
half the
week it's-
teams in the NFL.
It's going to be
have
50.
started
at
at least 2
Jake
quarterbacks.
Browning's going to start for the Bengals.
That's
that
50.
Tim Boyle or somebody might start for the Jets this week. I feel like
Yep.
there was another. Gino got hurt. I know he came back in.
He
but I
came
don't
back
know.
in. He's a game time decision. They haven't said. So there could be 3 more next
And
week.
isn't Gino on a
would be
short
crazy.
week? Does Gino play
I don't
Thanksgiving
remember.
Day?
I'm not sure. I'll look that up. Let's talk a little special teams, though, guys. And before I do that, I need to remind the good people of the world that FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. It is unquestioned, undeniable. And if you are gambling on any sport, you should be using FanDuel because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That could be NBA, NHL, NFL, college basketball, college football, you name it. If you win a moneyline bet, you get $150 for new customers. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get it on the action than right now. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Make sure you guys send us your winning FanDuel tickets so we can feature them on the show in the upcoming days and weeks. But, guys, last year, Mike Prefer in charge of the Browns special teams unit.
Disaster.
We talked week after week.
Oh, God,
it was something else that went wrong, and then something new, and then something new. And it was
It started with the botched onside kick in week 2.
against Joe Flacco's Jets, full circle moment. But there's not one metric that says your special teams ranks first, second, third in the NFL because there's different facets.
Yeah, there's so many different units.
We could all say pretty confidently the Browns had one of the worst special teams units in football last year.
No doubt.
It felt like it, yeah.
You switch out Bubba Ventrone for Mike Prefer, you bring in some new guys, and in less than a year, the Browns have gone from the bottom of the league to what feels like near top of the league special teams.
Yeah, I don't know if they're the top because their returns aren't amazing, but it's certainly up there.
Are anybody's?
Yeah, I don't know. Some teams are better, but they're right near the top. Even if they're not, no.
We just go on success rate of field goals.
Last year, and by the way, I'm going to get J and G at some point here to vote for not only Dustin Hopkins but the punter too. When we do those drafts for the team, right. I'm going to get you guys in on that.
I doubt it.
But we went from a kicker last year who even though they made the great kick week 1, couldn't do anything. We're blaming the punter for the hold and all that. And now you got a punter who's phenomenal. He had the one bad punt yesterday, but overall
his average was still 48 yards, almost 48 yards a punt.
Yeah, he's been incredible. The punter's been great. The kicker's been great. That combo's as good, if not better, than any combo in the league.
Did Jim Tressel put this team together?
Probably. Looks like
they're two of the most important players on the team right now.
Yeah. And you know what? Management and the people that have put this thing together have realized that and figured that out. You can't win without a good kicking game, and I throw the punter in with that.
No.
How many games come down to the last two? How many games across the NFL come down to last-second kicks? We talk about it all the time. That's why I didn't mind them burning the pick on Cade York.
That's why I didn't mind it either.
Because
he just
so
wasn't
many games
the right guy.
Decided. Yeah,
if he were the kicker this year, what's the Browns' record right now, you think?
Jesus, if he kicked like he did in preseason, we'd be under 500. These kicks have been, and by the way, guys, these kicks a lot of them aren't chippies. He's hit 58, 57, and 56-yard field goals this year.
He still leads the NFL in most makes over 50 yards.
And the knock against him was, he's 50%.
He had 50 yards. He'd been bad.
He had been bad.
50%.
I got to tell you, we beat the Browns up when they make the wrong moves.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the global view of the defensive coordinator, the kicker, the special teams coach, and DTR in the draft.
Like DeJuan Jones in the draft.
Well, that's why I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I do think that Barry's earned an extension because they
know what I do too.
They missed on the defensive tackles last year.
You talked yourself into it.
All right, I'm on board.
Let's sign him.
But they missed on the tackles last year. They fixed it. Andrew Barry fixed the issue of defensive tackle. Nailed Martin Emerson. Nailed DeJuan Jones. Nailed Dustin Hopkins. DTR, listen, guys, and I was even guilty of it. Yeah. I think I texted you guys last week and said it's the Brock Purdy. You know the odds of hitting on a quarterback in the 5th round or 7th round?
Well, we don't know that they've hit yet.
And that's why I'm saying. Let's be realistic about this.
The odds of hitting on a 3rd-round wide receiver are way higher. And they can't get that right.
I think when we extend Andrew Berry, we just got to tell him.
No more wide receivers in the
3rd round. That's it.
And you know what I want to do?
Write it into his contract.
I was thinking about this on the drive-in today. I want to look at that draft again and see what receivers were taken after those guys and who did they really miss on.
Interesting.
Did they really miss on one?
Which year, Jason? I'll look it up right now.
Either one. Either the Schwartz year, the Anthony Schwartz year, or this year with Tillman.
Or last year.
David Bell.
Or David Bell. Yeah.
And Mike, you do one, I'll bring up the other. Which one are you doing?
I'll pull up 2021 to start.
I don't know that we're going to do that right now. I'm just saying,
real quick.
For the most part, nobody bats 1,000. No head coach, no GM. No. Nobody gets everything right. But I thought, and again, what we haven't seen in Cleveland is you don't give these guys long enough to learn from their mistakes because the first shot, they're out. As soon as they screw up, they're out. Coaches are turned over. GMs are turned over every couple of years. You get better at the job the longer that you do it. And we've seen that with Kevin. We've seen that with the growth in Kevin. And I think we've seen that with AB and the growth of the position. Now, you can go round and around. I've already had comments of people saying because of the Deshaun thing, he doesn't deserve anything. I'm still not sure how much ownership was driving that and all that, and that's a conversation for another day. But in terms of the job he's done in putting the team on the field, I think Andrew Berry has done a terrific job of assembling this roster, of figuring out where they fell short last year, addressing those areas, and he's nailed it. When you're picking guys in the 3rd and 4th round who are starting for you in their 1st and 2nd year in the league, and they're playing at the level, Martin Emerson is a top 15 cornerback in this league, top 10 cornerback in this league.
I think he's top 10.
Like, I've already on record. I think he's terrific.
I do too.
All right, let me give you 2021 with David Bell. There were 11.
Yeah. Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, you got 22 because 21 was Schwartz.
I'm sorry.
And 21,
22.
I'll start with 21 then.
Go ahead.
You go 22,
ahead.
I'll do 23.
Yeah.
The only receiver selected after Anthony Schwartz that has done anything is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been phenomenal.
All right,
He's
that's a
been
miss.
terrific.
That guy's a top 10 wide receiver.
And he was
Now,
taken,
in fairness, a lot of teams missed on him.
Sure.
he was taken in the 4th round, the 112th pick.
Can you
so
imagine
that's
what this
about
offense would
22
look like
picks
with him in it?
after.
Hey, that's one of the reasons Detroit's 8-3.
He's a top 10 wide receiver.
Right.
All right, Bill, you do 22, I'll do 23.
22, there's 11 wide receivers drafted after him. 8 of them I never even heard of, so they don't even play. The best guy is decent, Romeo Doubs of the Packers. He's decent
okay.
player.
It's not one of my fantasy teams.
There's a couple other guys I've heard of.
Yeah.
The guy Miles Austin for the Steelers. I mean, he's a return guy, but he doesn't do it.
You know what we could
really
do?
Doubs, so I can't kill him for last year.
Maybe one day this week, to your point, is it time to extend Andrew Berry? We could go through and get a consensus hit or miss on all of his draft picks so far and see what his percentage is.
Yeah.
And we'd have to come up with a consensus. And obviously this year there'd be a lot of TBDs because we don't know about DTR.
I would
we
say
don't know about Cedric Tillman.
There's home run, hit, miss, disaster.
We'll have to come up with the
I think
idea.
that would be awesome. And
Yes.
then we can just sort of figure out how is he doing.
All right.
Because I think, Jason, I'm with you.
Juan Thornhill was a home run signing.
Yeah, and you'd have to also take into account some of his.
I feel like this is more of a end of the season.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
look at
yeah.
a
Probably.
bigger picture thing.
Yeah,
and real quick, for 2023, it's way too early to say Tillman's not good or any of these guys who could be good.
But what we've seen so far, he's been a miss.
Immediate guys picked after him who have done more than Tillman. Josh Downs on Indy, who killed the Browns when they played. Michael Wilson on Arizona, who did nothing against the Browns, but he's been
solid.
pretty productive. Puka.
Yep.
Puka's been really good.
He's
He was
the
a 5th
outlier,
round pick.
Nobody saw that.
Parker Washington's been quasi-productive for the Jaguars.
Yes.
And then he's got 23 catches, so.
No, that's
it. Those are three
So
guys.
I guess my
that's
point is,
2.5
we said before there's a blind spot at drafting receivers, and maybe there is. But aside from St. Brown, I don't know if there's a ton of guys that
Puka.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 years. That's the
Out of
one
about
guy.
30 guys.
Yeah. So start drafting receivers in higher rounds. There's their solution.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, you're right.
Well, if you have
not everybody
picks.
gets everything right. Andrew Berry's been a mixed bag in the draft, but if you include everything, trades, free agents, it's certainly. I had him as a C before the season. I think I'm moving him up to a B.
And the longer you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah,
that's the point I want to keep
And
making.
they seem to have a good working relationship. Stefanski, I think, in my opinion, Stefanski's earned the extension more than Berry, but I think Berry's been good enough. I would agree. I'd come along.
There's value in keeping the team together.
That's right.
The only reason I'd be apprehensive and the only mark on his resume is the fact that they punted last year. They just with no D tackles. And then he got D tackles this year, and look how it's been working.
The punt last year was when the suspension went to 11 games.
Yes.
That is when the season became a punt. Even though everyone screamed at me and wanted to kill me for saying it last year, it's 1,000% true. As soon as the suspension went to 11 games, they went, well, we'll see you next year because we can't win with a backup quarterback.
Now y'all can't do that.
Now they're trying to win.
Now they are. Now they understand.
How about that?
Your ass better try to win every single year that you got anybody.
And
One
they
more
are.
kudos on the belt of Andrew Berry, by the way, is Jerron Christian, who played really well again yesterday. They found him off
the scrap
heap and turned him into something. Gee, I want to ask you this, though. In our group chat as we're watching the game, I texted everyone, and Bull answered right away. I was like, man, looks like Prochet has some room to return some of these punts. He had just been fair catching it. And we thought that may be a little heebie-jeebies from his muffed punt against Baltimore.
Yeah.
But then in the fourth quarter, he had 3 punt returns, including a 21-yarder that set the Browns up in really good field position that they weren't able to capitalize on. But are you back on the side of the spectrum that Prochet is the guy at punt returner for the Browns?
I mean, they don't have no other option.
When did you fall off after the fumble?
Yeah, I mean, the fumble was bad, but
That was a bad
overall,
fumble,
he's done a good job since
I
they've
think
gotten
overall
him.
he's been a dramatic
We can't have
improvement
fumbles,
from
though.
DTR.
He can't fumble again,
No,
though.
you've got one job.
Yeah.
That's to catch the ball.
That's the when
Catch it and fall down.
We are playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
Like you got to understand, bro. Like we got to hit our field goals. We got to kick 60-yard punts. Defense got to get teams off the field on third down. Like to play this like meager, minimalistic, marginal games.
Yeah.
We got to have everybody doing their thing. You can't
Every
drop the ball.
game is going to be a grind for the Browns.
Yes.
Every game is going to be a little bit, but it's going to be a grind. The I mean, there may be an outlier or two, but I don't think we should expect any, blowouts for the Browns. They're going to win ugly, tight games the rest of the year. That's what I'm expecting.
Especially coming up.
You made the reference last week to the Dragon Ball Z reference. On this defense, who's the Goku? Who's the Vegeta?
Look at Jay.
I'm reading that directly from an email.
I wish we had a tight shot at G's face.
Oh my
Jay said
God.
that. I feel like G just saw a ghost.
That was good.
Did you say Vegeta?
Is that how it's pronounced?
No,
No, it's called Vegeta.
Oh, damn it. It is? Listen, I literally looked at it and I go, there's no way that can be Vegeta.
I turned around and was like, oh no, he said Vegeta.
Oh, so if I had gotten that right, you really would have fallen out of your chair.
That
my
sound like a
God.
green.
Somebody emailed me and said this. If you really want to throw G off, ask him who's Goku and who's Vegeta. Vegeta? They went with Vegeta on this defense.
You are walking that tightrope with that word there, Jay. You are walking that tightrope,
This
man.
is when the
How is that
golf
not
is wrong.
Vegeta?
Game.
They're
Playing a dangerous game.
playing a very dangerous.
Jay is, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what the hell that means, but who is the Goku and who is the Vegeta?
Well, Goku is the quintessential. He's the main character of the show. He wins every fight. So
that's got to be Myles Garrett.
That's Myles Garrett, obviously.
Okay.
Vegeta.
Who's this team's Vegeta?
The Vegeta is the same.
G, you'll appreciate
If he
this.
was still here, I'd say it's Baker.
No defense.
G, I put up a YouTube chat poll real quick. I said, how old is Jay for that reference? Just regular old? Old as shit? Or just stop talking about Dragon Ball Z, Jay?
It's not mine.
And Jay, in a 1-minute poll with 173 votes, you voted old as shit. Congratulations, Jay. You're officially old as shit.
Listen, here's the best part. I don't know what would be older than that, but whatever it is, I would be it because I don't know what any of that shit means.
I was like, when he said Goku, I said, oh my gosh, this guy got it. And then he said Vegeta, and I was like, that sounds like a leafy vegetable that you find at Whole Foods.
Well, you know what Vegeta sounds like?
Something that we be.
So I literally, when I got the email, I'm like, I looked at that and I go, it's got to be Vegeta because they wouldn't call it Vegeta.
Jay, forward me that email real quick.
All right,
I will confirm if Jay.
I feel like I got to watch this movie now during the Thanksgiving.
I do too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I still don't even know what y'all are talking about.
What
See,
do you mean?
so
movie?
we're all old as shit.
It's not a movie.
I'm putting a poll up for Bull right now.
What is it?
It's a show. It's one of the greatest shows ever made.
Listen,
Apparently not.
It's a Japanese anime cartoon.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm not
Dragon Ball.
You
How many
lost me in
episodes are there?
anime.
Oh, it's a whole series.
Oh, I can't watch that much.
It's a
Forget
whole
it.
series. Like I gotta listen.
I'm watching Lawman Bass Reeves. I got other things on
These
the top.
guys, boy, I tell you, listen, y'all
Yeah.
can't come to Comic-Con with me. Y'all gonna be embarrassed.
By the way, I didn't know.
No. Bull, I gotta cut you off. I'm
Sorry, go.
You host a TV movie podcast and never heard of Dragon Ball Z? Shame on you.
Wow, he's turning into Vegeta.
Now, actually,
a bad job out of me.
They do have forms where you go Saiyan and Super Saiyan. So Super Saiyan would be like when Bull gets angry, right? He transforms into a whole new form, and his hair goes blonde. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
We're
yeah.
gonna put it up on tag board to show you guys
Well,
what
look,
this
will
is.
somebody tell me who the hell is our Vegeta?
Yeah, who's the Vegeta?
The Vegeta is so he's a villain.
Can never find that Vegeta.
That turned good.
Pause.
A villain who turned good. So it's got to be somebody that played for the Steelers or the Ravens.
Josh Dobbs.
No, he's got to be on the
it's
Browns
on our
now.
defense.
Currently.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's friends with Goku now. So, but he's very powerful. He's the second powerful.
I would be Dalvin Tomlinson or Zadarius, right?
It's got to be, I got to be Zadarius.
Yeah, Zadarius. I would
Zadarius
say
played for Baltimore, so.
I would say Zadarius. Yeah, Zadarius Smith, he fits the description.
Wow, man.
Or could it be Joe Flacco?
That is Vegeta right there.
Look at Vegeta.
Yeah.
I've seen Vegeta somewhere. I don't know. Maybe my son watched.
Long time ago, you saw Vegeta.
That does not look like Vegeta to me. A long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away.
Oh my God.
About 10 years ago.
Oh
Jason.
my God. You're out of pocket, Jason. Jason is out of pocket.
Crazy.
G, it's okay. Just breathe. G, it's all right.
Could Joe Flacco be the Vegeta?
No.
Got to be somebody on defense?
He's way too pale for that.
Nothing worse
I think
than
we reached our.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think
Save
we reached our
us.
corporate maximum of Vegeta jokes in one segment.
Save us, Mike. Go ahead.
It's a character in Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Z, Jay. Dragon
that
Ball
too.
Z.
Well, I have
Get your minds out of the gutter.
Listen, I have a PCC read to read us some poll results here. Whenever we read poll results
this is
from
crazy.
the YouTube chats brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Airflows, you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits. PCC Airflows is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airflows in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a sign bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. It was only fair to put a YouTube poll up after what Jay said about Bull. And I said, how old is Bull for not knowing Dragon Ball Z is not a TV show? The options were old as shit, older than Jay, and Bull, please stop talking. And the answer was 36%. Just like Jay, you are old as shit, Bull.
Welcome.
I would have lost a lot of money on Bull. Please stop talking.
That was second place.
Those
people are idiots.
I wear that as a badge of honor that I don't know.
Yeah.
No disrespect, I don't know how you find the hours in the day to consume
he doesn't sleep.
the amount. I know. I guess that's
sleep.
how.
Yeah.
You don't sleep. See, I have to sleep. I'm taking 7 hours a night, whether I need it or not.
Yeah. I don't sleep very often, man. I'll be into. I'll be into a bunch of stuff. That YouTube algorithm is you learn a lot about me if you got my search history.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be like, this cat G. Bush. Like, it's kind of weird. It's strange, right? Yeah. No, man.
Wow. I did not have in our bingo card today
I cannot
us
wait.
using the word Vegeta.
Jay, I cannot wait till someone finds this clip on Brown special teams.
Yeah.
And clicks on it. And we did actually touch a lot on special teams, so kudos to us. But if you watch the full 17-minute clip and you get into that rabbit hole, so if you are watching the live show right now, make sure you tweet out the clip when it goes live on the special teams and just tell people to wait for a special surprise. Later on.
I didn't see it going that way. I only wish I would have nailed the pronunciation because you would have had a stroke if I nailed it.
I was so happy when you said it the first time, and then you got to the second part. I was like, oh.
Yeah, this is bad. As good as it was with Goku, it went that far off the rails with Vegeta.
By the way, at G's party this weekend, I met his cousin Montel.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Great guy. He and I were talking for like a half an hour. He's in a Netflix show that's coming out.
Yeah, he has a whole series.
Cousin.
Whole Netflix,
It's called
episodes.
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's gonna come on in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow, you got acting in the family.
Yeah, we're like I got a weird family. Like
Obliterated. That's what.
Like if you come over and you expect to be like, if you come over and you expect to see like a regular run of the mill people, like I got an actor. I got a cousin who has like CIA level clearance. Like,
Damn. Well, you clearly a very athletic family.
Yeah.
What's so funny is his brothers are both huge.
Yeah.
Just like G.
Bigger or
You're taller than both of them, I think.
I'm taller than them.
But they're big dudes.
Big men.
Huge guys.
your dad's a big dude.
No. G's dad is not a big dude at all.
Not at
Why do
all.
I remember your dad is big?
His brothers, G's brothers, G's dad's brothers are tall.
Yes.
But they're skinny as rails.
Yeah, skinny as rails.
Yeah.
We still trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, but his dad's tiny.
He's small. Like,
Yeah.
And so my cousin quit playing football to do acting. He used to play.
He's a big dude also.
He used to play left tackle at Eastern Michigan. And so, like, my other cousin, he played wide receiver at Boston College. My other cousin played linebacker at Indiana.
Yeah.
So athleticism is
his cousin, who's the actor. I'll obviously save the story for when he can tell the story. But he was an extra in Draft Day
Oh, wow.
And
Cool.
he met Chadwick Boseman, and it was
that's kind of cool.
A great experience for
Yeah,
him.
that's cool.
Really weird, strange. I said, I don't like that, man. I gotta do something now. I gotta make another shirt or something. He came over, stole the whole thunder. It's unacceptable. You out here winning, super winning.
You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
You're doing just fine.
We got one more read to do, and then we're going to get into something, a real special topic here that kind of encapsulates what happened yesterday on the football field for the Cleveland Browns destroying the Pittsburgh Steelers. But FanDuel is the number one place to gamble in America. It's America's number one sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Guys, you know I live downtown, and I say it on the postgame show all the time. I can hear the stadium from my apartment.
Yeah.
And before the game, I knew when Nick Chubb walked onto the field because I could hear it.
The roar.
And then I heard another roar, and I was like, what's this second roar? And then I see a few seconds later on social media, Jimmy Donovan was the dog pound captain, went on to smash the guitar. And after the game, and we have the clip, we're going to play it, he got the game ball from Coach Stefanski in a pretty touching moment. So let's take a listen. We'll watch Jimmy Donovan get the game ball and talk about Jimmy D being back in the booth for the Browns.
I got a question.
Thank you. All right. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thanks, Go. Thanks.
That's great. Wow. I mean, I don't know if there's any higher honor that a media member can have bestowed on them than to be given a game ball after an NFL win. And that, I think, encapsulates and embodies what Jim Donovan has meant, not just to this organization, but to our entire city. It's very rare that a broadcaster of any kind has that kind of an impact, but he has broken through that ceiling, and he's one of a kind. And what's most amazing to me about all of it is the fact that Jimmy's a Boston guy. Mm-hmm. He's not a Clevelander, but you never know that. He feels like one of us and always has.
Yeah.
And that's why he's worked in this market for more than 40 years, guys, because he understands what makes the Cleveland fan go, and he is an honorary Clevelander and Cleveland sports fan. What just an incredible career that he's had, and I thought that was well done by the Browns.
Awesome to have him back. Fun fact, I'm sure you know this. I don't know if you guys know this. He went to college with Howard Stern. Did you guys know
he
that?
did.
I didn't even know that.
I did not know that.
He worked at
Boston University.
at the college radio
Yes, he
station
did.
with Howard Stern.
Yep. Huh.
Yeah, I wrote a story on Jimmy a couple years ago.
That is interesting.
We talked about
That's
that.
crazy.
By the way, I
Great to
can
have him
speak
back.
from a perspective I think that many people cannot, to put in perspective what Jim was able to do yesterday, because obviously I know what my wife has been through dealing with leukemia treatments, and I've called games, not NFL games, but I understand the energy and that it takes to call a game. I think a lot of fans think, oh, anybody can call a game. It's it takes a ton of energy to do as great a job, just do any job like this. It takes a ton
Especially
of energy.
radio.
But radio especially, and especially to bring it the way Jimmy does, to do that and dealing with leukemia treatments. Ask anybody that has come back from leukemia. It's almost impossible to believe that somebody could do this soon. So it's remarkable that he was able to do it, and obviously the crowd fed off Jimmy's great energy yesterday.
Yeah, that was super dope. That's rarefied air for you to be in the media and get a game ball. Heck, it's people that play on the field that don't get game balls. Them play 10 years, they never sniffed a game ball.
Sure.
But for you to get the game ball means you got a lot of impact, man, and that's rarefied air right there, man. That's for any sportscaster, you get that game ball, that's like, it's almost like getting a gold medal. There's very few people walking the earth that can say they got that.
And classy of Kevin Stefanski to do it.
Yep.
To give
Yeah,
it.
he was
classy.
emotional about it, Jim.
Well, you'll know this. I think that when you're a team selected, hired, and paid employee, there is an unwritten level of expectation that goes with that job.
Yeah, sure.
You clearly can't speak freely. But what Jimmy's done, and there's a couple guys across the country, I think Michael Kay's earned that status with the Yankees. The longer you do it, the more credibility you build, and that equity is very important that you don't betray that trust with the audience. Anybody that I've had people tell me before, I always used to get in this conversation with folks at ESPN that would say, yeah, Jimmy's great. You know, he is, because I've always said we've got the best baseball and we've got the best football. Now, that free and open to debate and disagree, that's fine. I am a homer when it comes to that. But I think, for my money, I don't want to listen to anybody but Tommy and Jimmy. End of discussion.
Yeah.
It's all subjective. I get it. But I had somebody once tell me, well, you know, I can't count those guys as being great because all the radio guys are homers. The TV guys have the most difficult job because they have to placate both teams. Get that. Understandable. Jimmy is anything but a homer. When this team, and this is why he's so beloved here, when this team is playing like ass, Jimmy will go on the radio.
Yes.
And he will say, this is hard to look at.
Guess what? He missed it.
Guess what?
Yeah.
He missed it.
Yes.
And he spoke for all of Northeast Ohio when he said it.
Yep. That's one of my favorite Jimmy calls.
Because
Guess
it really,
what? He missed it.
It sums Jim up in the nutshell. That's what we were saying. He didn't sugarcoat it. He never does.
And Tom Hamilton the same way.
Same way,
and
Tom Hamilton.
There's a difference between rooting for your team. Obviously, Jim Donovan wants the Browns to win.
He does.
And being a homer. I think there's a
big difference. Yes. Because
100%.
to me, a homer implicates you're not objective. Jimmy is absolutely objective. So if the two can't be mutually exclusive, and you know, if you're a homer, you can't be objective, then no, Jimmy has never been a homer. And the one reason I used to love so much, the thing I missed the most when I moved away from Ohio in 1987 was listening to Jim Donovan on the football play-by-play calls. As technology developed and I was able to start listening to the games again in various cities, whether it was Tampa or whether it was in the New York area, whatever, it shortened the distance from where I sat from where I was from. It instantly, for those 3 hours every Sunday, put me back in my parents' house when I was 15 years old, listening to the games on radio and watching the video on TV.
Yeah, sure.
And so, and I know I'm not alone. I speak for tens of thousands of fans that are in California, Texas, Florida, worldwide, that listen to his call. And for those 3 hours, everything's okay in the world. You're closer to home.
Yeah.
Jimmy, welcome back. We love you. The newsroom upstairs, our Channel 3 newsroom, has been completely abuzz for a week.
Is he back?
He's back today.
That's
he
awesome.
is on TV.
Because I'm doing the 7 o'clock tonight. I didn't know.
You
if he
will
was gonna
do
be
it
there.
with Jim
That's
Donovan.
great.
And
That's
I got to
awesome.
tell you, when he left, he and I had a private conversation before the 5 o'clock show, and I wished him well, and I said, when do we have to wait to get you back? And he said, Jay, my hope is November, December.
I thought he was crazy when I heard that.
I thought he was out of his mind. I said, Jimmy, we'll see you then. But quietly, I thought, it's just not doable. It's not doable. I talked to doctors, not his doctor, but I talked to other oncologists who told me, oh, that's not wildly that's not wildly optimistic. That's almost improbable, if not impossible.
Crazy. It's amazing.
And here he is, Jim Donovan, back in the booth, and everything for those 3 hours yesterday, especially the way the game turned out, was right in the world.
We got a couple updates for you real quick. Kevin Stefanski speaking to the media, and he has announced DTR will start this Sunday against Denver.
As expected.
Also, Anthony Walker week to week, and Rodney McLeod out for the season with a biceps injury.
That could be significant, depending on Thornhill when Juan's back.
And McLeod, I feel like if Thornhill, we had the big play last week, you're like, oh, if Thornhill was playing. This week, the one long run, I feel like if Thornhill played, Jalen Warren would not have had a touchdown in that play.
Well,
there were some bad angles taken by the secondary on that play.
He took a little bit of a bad angle against the Baltimore Ravens in a long play.
Thornhill did?
No, McLeod.
McLeod. Yeah, right.
I remember that play.
Yes.
You know, this year, the Steelers in 2 games against the Browns had right around 400 yards of offense. 150 of it came on 2 plays.
Yeah.
So if you take those 2 long plays out of the game, the Browns defense has held the Steelers offense to around 250 yards. That's mind-blowing. I
guys,
don't care how bad Kenny Pickett is.
Real quick, while I have the dots up, you can see McLeod, 26. He's the one chasing Warren there with Emerson coming up. It is a bad angle, and he's the high safety here.
Yep.
Watch him come down and get kind of trapped inside Taki.
And that's what allowed the long run. He needs to run more towards the 50 and the sidelines to cut it off.
And your two free players, which was Greg Newsome and McLeod, both missed. And, Greg Newsome came free, dove at his ankles, and with Warren, you can't dive at his ankles. You gotta put your body on his.
And a credit to Warren too. That was a great job out of him.
And obviously, he's the best back they got. I mean, Najee Harris is okay, but
Warren's the best playmaker.
Warren's the best,
I agree.
best back they got. They should be giving him the bulk of the carries.
Now, if Thornhill's out, I believe Ronnie Hickman is next up.
Yes, indeed.
Undrafted.
He played some yesterday.
Yeah, he
4
did.
tackles.
Yeah.
And
that's played extremely well in the preseason.
That's a position we've seen before. You could sign a guy off the street and he could be a factor down the stretch if there's a good veteran out there.
Yeah, but obviously, if all things were equal, you'd much rather have the more experienced player in the high.
No, what I'm saying is if, they're going to give Ronnie Hickman, but I would bring somebody like a veteran off the street to be in the mix. I'm looking at best free agents still available. By the way, Jarvis Landry is third on that list.
Wow.
In terms of safeties, the best safety on this list, Deron Harmon, played for the Bears last year. He's 32. Logan Ryan.
Wow.
Logan Ryan, who played for Tampa last year.
It's crazy, right?
P.J. Williams.
You can tell me that he couldn't play better than some of the wide receivers that we've had this year? Has he fallen that far? I know he was.
It's just
Landon Collins. That guy was a Pro Bowler a few years ago, wasn't he?
He was.
For the Giants, he can't cover. He's great against the run. It was very difficult in the to watch.
And if you have a weakness like that, teams are going to attack.
Do I need my safety to cover on this team?
You do in some situations. I don't know.
I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think Ronnie Hickman can play.
But you still got to bring somebody in.
Yeah, they got some other guys.
You might as well bring in a veteran, right? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Those are some
Ronnie
of the
Hickman
names.
have like 3 picks in the preseason?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
I like him. I like
he's a Buckeye.
Well,
I like that we're going to the Columbus Well more often.
Makes sense.
For years and years and years,
it was weird.
We avoided Ohio State players, and Pittsburgh took them, and they became impact players there. Hell, they still have one playing at a Hall of Fame level there.
Yeah, listen, I like the youth movement. We're not seeing Imani Bates, but we saw Porter for 21 points.
By the way, one thing we haven't mentioned from yesterday, because Anthony Walker is day to day, and when he left, I thought Sione Taki took over that role. Remember last year when he played middle linebacker, he played his best football. I thought he went in there and played well.
Solid pro
when he went in there. So let's hope we can keep the front 7 has been completely healthy until this Anthony Walker injury.
And what he's day-to-day with what?
Hamstring. So it's day-to-day. Those, you never know. It's
you don't want to rush
impossible
back
on
with a
Monday to
hamstring.
predict.
Yeah, no, let it heal. I mean, it takes some time, but let it heal.
All right, guys. Big Ben said something yesterday that, Bull, I know you tweeted.
This pissed me off, man.
And I'm not sure if everyone else on the panel saw this. Jay, have you seen this yet?
I did see it.
I saw
Did you see it?
I saw it.
So some of this will be live reaction. Some of this will be what you've already seen. But if you haven't seen it, here's what Ben Roethlisberger said as the game-winning field goal from Dustin Hopkins' foot went through the uprights on his, I guess it's a podcast. I don't even really know. It's called Football and whatever it is. But here's Big Ben, future play-by-play guy extraordinaire, as the Browns defeated his Pittsburgh Steelers. Steve, you ready? Take it.
Now he's got a chance to pitch it to Naj, but Naj got there too fast. I mean, this is the Browns Super Bowl.
When was the last time they beat Pittsburgh in Cleveland?
That's Super Bowl for them. I don't know. Yeah, so we're in third, 6-4, 2-1 the division.
By the way, I mean, can you imagine? I feel bad for the people that have to listen to that.
I'd rather watch gasoline evaporate.
Oh, or paint dry. I mean, that is painful. Him and that tool job that's sitting next to him. I don't know who the hell that is. But listen, I have probably met. I know 3 or 4 people that know Ben Roethlisberger, at least to some degree. I've probably met 10 people that have met him over the years. Every single person says he's a douchebag. He's always been a douchebag. He'll always be a douchebag. He's so dismissive. I hate his guts. I really do. I know it's extreme. I don't say hate. I hate him.
Who do you hate more?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben or Baker?
Ben, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, you have to change that when you tell that story from now on.
Yeah.
I've met Ben on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
We worked on one project together. I found him to be perfect.
All right, Jay's the only one that liked Ben Roethlisberger. Please.
Listen, I hated him as a player. Let me first get that out there.
Yeah.
Because he kicked our ass all the time. But look, I know all the allegations and all the stories.
And we have the same thing with Watson. We can't say anything from that end.
I always make it a point to judge people not based on how other people tell me they are as human, but I want to make my own assessments.
That's right.
If someone came up to me and said, "Oh, you're going to hate Bull. Bull's a jackass."
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I got to figure that out on my own.
That's right.
I have found you to be not a jackass.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And so and it was limited. I met him on a couple different occasions.
Yeah.
We did one project together where we spent a little bit of time around each other.
Yeah.
And so that's all I can base it on. He was perfectly professional.
Yeah.
He was courteous. He loved the fact that I went to Bowling Green and him being from Findlay or Fostoria. We kind of bonded that way, and I knew. I had a very good friend who was a good friend of his high school coach.
Okay.
So maybe he treated me differently. And at the time I was at ESPN, so he probably gave me more cachet than I deserved when we met.
And to be fair.
But I have heard many other people say he's a total ass.
Yeah, and to be fair, Mike Francesa is another guy. New York radio has a terrible reputation. A lot of people don't like him. Always been extremely nice to me. I love him.
And I like Mike too.
Mike's a great guy, and a lot of people badmouth him.
Mad Dog,
so
I like.
I'm going to Mad Dog too. So I'm going to lighten up and say that Ben Roethlisberger, you're still a douchebag. Go to hell. I hate your guts. You're boring on the radio. Anybody that listens to you is a fool, as most people in Pittsburgh are. It was not the Browns Super Bowl. In the past, it may have been. By the way, your last playoff game, you lost to the Browns, you bum. You stink. You don't stink. You're probably a Hall of Famer. But I hate you. I hate you. And I'm very comfortable in saying I hate you. And I hope the Steelers never win a playoff game again. I hope they're cursed forever, even though I don't believe in curses. I hate you again, and thank you.
And to answer the other slapdicks question, it was last year. The Browns beat the Steelers.
I know. When was the last time the Browns beat the Steelers in Cleveland?
Last year.
Okay.
See, this is what happens when. See, a lot of times people don't even read and even like watch the Browns games. Like they just gloss over it. So they've been running with the narrative that the Browns have been trash and they're dumpster fires. And so now when we keep smoking people, see, there's the big problem. Now you guys actually have to pay attention. Because you used to be able to deflect and say, I'm not tuning into the Browns. I ain't talking about the Browns. Deshaun Watson this, Deshaun Watson that, Deshaun Watson. Guess what? Deshaun Watson is not playing for us anymore. So now you're going to actually have to watch what we do. And right now we've been smoking y'all. So now you got to pay attention. 7-3, 8-3, 9-3. If it continues on, we're going to continue to build momentum and do what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, the Browns are showing teams that we're not just about the quarterback. We win in a lot of different ways. And to be honest with you, we got the most dominant defense in the game. And guess what? That travels. Run game travels. Playing, special teams travel. All of that stuff travels. And I would never want to play the Cleveland Browns. And the media knows it, everyone around the league. If I was getting ready for the playoffs, I would avoid the Cleveland Browns at all costs.
And a great quarterback travels too. But the Browns are not going to get enough respect because of the way they're winning. Well, and that's okay.
But
who cares? Let them keep taking the Browns lightly.
No, I'll tell you this. Football Night in America led with the Browns last night at 7 o'clock when they came in. They mentioned the Detroit Lions 8-3.
Had no choice.
Within 10 seconds, they had moved to the Browns, and they talked about Myles Garrett as Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and then he added 2 more sacks to his total. He's on pace to break the sack record, isn't he?
No, he's just shy. He's averaging 1.3 sacks per game right now. He's on pace for like 22.3.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
right there.
To your point, that this is actually the first time, I think, since 1969 that both the Browns and Lions are 7-3.
Yes, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're going to – look, you can't ignore a 7-3. You can't do it. There's only 2 or 3 teams with 8 wins.
I think smart fans and smart media members nationally will realize the Browns are legit. Casual fans or non-smart fans are going to say, their quarterback sucks, they can't win.
Now, to all that, like, what does it mean? Last night, I watched the entire Sunday Night Football, the hour-and-a-half pregame show, and then the entire game. And what last night was Josh Dobbs' coming out party.
Yeah.
They pumped this guy up, rightfully so. They showed his parents in the stands.
It's a great story.
It's a great story. They talked about his nickname, Pastronaut. They talked about his 4.0. Chris Collinsworth was effusive in his praise. Just one kind thing to say after another. And oftentimes, now the bullseye's on your back. They lost last night. Now, I know it was a tough situation. Denver's getting a lot better.
Yeah.
It was a hostile environment at Denver, but that's why I say I don't care what the national media is talking about. It never
People
equates
get too
to
worked
wins.
up about that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Worked.
It never equates to wins. And to my point, my preference is don't talk about us.
That's okay.
Let us hide underneath that radar.
Browns were a 1.5
we'll
point
see
dog.
You in January.
Browns have opened as a 1.5 point dog at Denver.
Wow.
By the way, what's nice about the Browns being
That's
good?
shocking.
Well, Denver's playing pretty well
They
too.
are.
The game's
they
on
are.
the road. So
they're also the same team that gave up 70 this year.
That's going to be a tough game. I think
It is gonna
the
be
Browns
tough.
traditionally don't play well.
What's
in
great
Denver
about the
either.
Browns being good is they get better broadcast teams too. And Ian
that
Eagle's
is
the
good.
best.
Yeah, I love
Ian
Ian
Eagle's
Eagle.
so good.
He was great yesterday.
Oh,
he always
and-
is great, but yesterday it was such a nice
and their
refreshing-
byplay off
yeah.
one another, the jokes, it's not
Yeah,
just your
he's busting
standard
Evan Washburn's
meat and
balls a little
potatoes.
bit. Yeah.
I'm not going to name any names, but there are a lot of the broadcast teams where you know what you're going to get. It's just going to get the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Then when you watch the next tier up, the Nance and Romos, Joe Buck, those guys give you a little bit
Ian
more.
Eagle
And Ian Eagle's in that class.
So many good things that he brought up, and he lets the game breathe, which I love. He's great.
Yeah.
He even told me when I had him on my podcast this week, he's like, in the past when I've come to Cleveland, it's been like, they stink.
Sure.
But now he's like, now I'm excited to come to Cleveland because
Right.
the team's good.
In retrospect, I don't know that NBC made the awful decision that I beat them up for a couple weeks ago for not flexing Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Yeah.
That game last night ended up being a pretty good game.
And the Browns are not going to be sexy to watch unless you love defense.
You're right. Yeah, they're not going to put 45 up.
We got some super chats to get to. A couple of these are questions, and we got some time, so we will try to answer these questions. I'll ask the question individually to people on the panel so we can get through all these. Jason, you can start with the first one. This is from Kevin Robinson. Was the second half Kevin or DTR not trusting his arm?
I think it was the Steelers' defense realizing what the plan was and coming up on the routes and sitting on the routes and not giving him anything. So I don't know that he doesn't necessarily. It's not that he doesn't trust DTR. I think he's just trying to ease him into it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Out of necessity, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't need to do
smart.
anything desperate, so they didn't do anything.
He's going to slow build.
I love what G said at the start of the show. This is a dangerous game you play.
It worked.
But it worked.
Next is from Lawrence Goggins. Said, I love a Victory Monday. #UCSS. #DogPound. Our Mac Dog says, in my best G. Bush voice, stop playing with me, 95. Myles is better than Watt. Hands down, 2023 NFL Defensive Player of the Year. John Harris said, we got to get Njoku some stickum. Njoku FaceTime Kevin Stefanski last night on the jugs machine at his house. Stefanski said that during his media.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He said that during his media session.
So that brings even more credence to the idea that there's a little extra zip on those balls. One of the reasons guys like to use jugs is to adjust to a quarterback that throws with more velocity.
And David said yesterday post-game he was going
Love
home
that.
and getting on the jugs machine. I didn't know he was serious.
Wow,
but
I love that he did it.
I love the comment that he said, he's got to play better. He ripped himself. I love that. I love when
he said
players
the shit's
take
unacceptable
accountability.
is what he tweeted out.
I agree, Bull.
What?
Njoku tweeted out this shit was unacceptable.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, he didn't say it. He tweeted it.
He tweeted, yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
no, but in his scrum he did too.
Oh,
Like,
he did.
He
I
took full
love
accountability
when
for
players call themselves, I didn't play well enough.
it.
Yeah.
Don't blame,
He will.
love it.
This is an anomaly. He's not going to have a game with 4 more drops.
No.
He's going to
He's had
adjust
a
to
really
the extra
good year.
velocity. And by the way, there probably were some of those throws that DTR could have taken a little off.
There was one.
He's got to mix some finesse in with that speed.
But listen, he's a young quarterback.
No
the veterans got to
excuse.
help him. Yeah.
Receivers got to catch those balls.
Yeah.
He probably went home, cranked the jugs up to 68. So
You're
now
all in.
DTR 62 feels like 50.
Everything matters. This team's trying to win a Super Bowl. Let's go.
That's right.
I do like that comment from Stefanski, though. He was asked.
I love it.
He asked, did you hear about what David said about hitting the jugs? And he goes, well, I know he asked, and then he FaceTimed me on it, so I know he actually did it. So shout out to Njoku for doing that. Peter R. says, Jimmy D and Nick had the stadium going crazy yesterday. Esco said, did you see the Vikings use Harrison Bryant's pitch play last night on a toss to Dobbs? I almost died.
I did see it.
And then
I'm like, guess what? It didn't work.
And Dobbs almost died.
Yeah, he did.
Like his soul was halfway lifted. It was between
his guardian angel was hovering over him, and then he went back up.
He was like, "Am I in Valhalla? No, you're not."
I didn't see
that. Was a Vikings.
It was the same. It was essentially the same play. I hate it because you put a tight end, or did they use a tight end? They did. Hawkinson, right? So he's under center, and they're running a pitch play, a sweep left. And he throws it to Dobbs, and he wouldn't have gotten the first down anyhow, but he got lit up and fumbled the football.
And it was helmet to helmet.
It was helmet to helmet from the player that just got back from a suspension.
Yeah, he's going to get suspended again.
Yeah, that's not
next up
good.
Comes from Simple. He is 2. First, how close is Myles in the MVP conversation? Not DPOY, but MVP.
Not going to happen.
No defensive players winning an MVP.
Hold on.
Now,
not going to happen.
Hold on.
It's not going to happen. But
if he breaks the sack record and the Browns don't win, he breaks the sack record and the Browns get the #1 overall seed in the AFC, it's a shot.
No chance.
Well,
no, I'm telling you, nobody's voting for a defensive player.
In a normal year,
no.
No. But there, like in football with the Heisman, there's been one outlier when an Ohio kid, Charles Woodson, won. So it has to be the perfect storm. And with the idea that offense has regressed and that defense is playing a bigger role in the NFL, that might be a factor. But to your point, he's going to have to break the sack record. The Browns are going to have to get the #1 overall seed. And he's going to have to be a slam dunk in the Defensive Player of the Year
Even
award.
if he does that, he ain't winning MVP. I guarantee it.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Who
is the MVP right now?
Right now, still probably Mahomes.
I know, but the fact that you have to think about that.
I didn't think about it.
No, you said it's probably.
Just because there's nobody else that came to
so
mind.
I'll tell you, look, Mahomes, we think Mahomes, 40 touchdowns. Mahomes is on pace to have 30 touchdown passes this year.
Nah, that ain't going to work.
He threw 50.
And there's some Mahomes.
He's still going to throw for 5,000 yards or close to it.
And there's some Mahomes fatigue. He done wanted a pretty.
That's a real thing too.
We don't find the debate. I'm just saying, people are not voting for a defensive
I don't want
player.
to dismiss it completely. I think there is a chance. It's very slim. I'd give him the same chance that there was when Woodson won the Heisman Trophy. Very, very slim. I will say this. If there's a player that can do it, why not?
I just looked up the FanDuel odds just out of curiosity. Myles is not listed among players who are available to bet on.
Because that's conventional wisdom. That's conventional thinking.
Yeah. Simple also had another question. He said, G. Bush, what the hell has happened to Pierre Strong? His speed, how he can cut. I believe the Browns walk away with the game if he got more touches yesterday.
Well, look, Pierre Strong, look. They rolling with what's the name right now?
Ford and Hunt.
They're rolling with Ford. It's one of those things where, don't get it twisted. They drafted him. When you draft somebody, that's your man. That's your.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. The Browns running game has not been very good besides the Ravens game.
Because I was saying this, but
yes, I still want to see him.
I wanted to see more of him yesterday, but I can predict the results. When you have 11 defenders that are inside 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
That's 2 jabs from y'all, man.
Nick Chubb isn't going to run the ball with 11 guys within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Oh, if they were elite, they could. Although I will say,
Nick Chubb is elite.
Kareem Hunt found that.
Nick Chubb isn't
elite.
No,
I'm saying if they were elite, they could run it without Nick Chubb. They could do it against 11.
That's
if they
not
were elite.
true.
We're not going back to
I know we're not. I know.
I thought it was
I'm
funny.
trying to compliment Kareem Hunt. Go ahead.
I thought it was funny. Go ahead.
Yeah,
the way they've been sneaking these jabs in, they've been tag teaming. They're like Legion of Doom, tag you're in off the top ropes.
Kareem Hunt found that fourth wheel yesterday and hurdled a man.
I love that.
Put that fourth wheel on.
And how big was that play?
That
was a great play.
Yeah, I thought about you when you did that.
He went in the garage and put that fourth wheel back on.
I literally said, God, how do you do that?
Go, Mike, go.
We got to get these last ones in. Paramount Sand, who says, big fan of all you guys, love watching the show. I remember seeing Jay on SportsCenter and saying, hey, there's one of us on a major sports network. Big fan anyway. Stefanski deserves an extension. Rogelio Brewster sent a super chat without any comments, so shout out to Rogelio. Thank you. Rick George says DTR has an arm for anyone who played professional sports. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Rob Baranai says, as ugly as it was a huge win. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yes,
is the future left tackle currently playing for the Browns and Jerron Christian?
I ain't even
Go
want to
Brownies.
say something. I didn't want to.
He played really well.
I didn't want to say nothing when some people hurt right now. I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Statute of limitations, they ran out on that.
It's been 2 games, but we're going to have a conversation to be had if he continues to play at this level moving forward. Buckeye Brown says, if we go 1-0 every week, nothing else matters. I challenge the whole panel, win or lose, be objective, but let's keep believing in Believeland. Dank Nasty Ass Master
Gorgeous.
says, haters, F off. Fairweather fans, F off. This is Cleveland Browns country, son. Kool-Aid Mafia, it's our time. PSG, I watched the birthday video. Your wife is adorable, LOL. Conklin
Was your wife
Keith?
in the video? She wasn't in the video.
No, she laughed in the background.
Oh,
G was
yeah,
saying,
okay.
yeah, I think that's what
She
he
was
referring to.
praying in like
She was
some
praying,
broken
yeah.
language.
Oh, okay.
Like, because she can't watch the game. She's just in the
Broken
corner
language.
like, oh, no, please.
Colin Key says, scenario for Bull. If the Browns and Bengals are both playing for a playoff spot in Week 18, who do you root for?
The Bengals will not be playing for a playoff spot.
But if it's the hypothetical.
I can't. I'm not sure what I would do. Right now, I'm all in on the Browns.
Let me answer that for you. You've got to be Bengals, Bull.
It's 51-49.
That's your team, Bull.
I just don't.
No one looks bad at that.
No, I know
but the Browns are good for business.
I know that.
They are, but you know what?
JJ, I know. That's all right.
You got 30 seconds.
I'm not saying anything just to make fans feel better. I just can't. I think the Bengals are going to fall apart here. But yes, I'd probably root for the Bengals. But if the Bengals do not have a playoff chance, which I don't think they will, I'm 100% rooting for the Browns. It also helps the Bengals get a better draft pick.
All right, last three real quick. Hyper Frosty says, Browns are 5-1 since my breakup. Let's go.
Should have ditched her 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Kenny Moss said offenses will pick up greatly next year when they outlaw the hip drop tackle, making it impossible to tackle a guy from behind. Skilly says,
It has been talked about.
do you think Njoku was having a hard time catching because of the velocity DPR puts on the rock? And Big Chuck, we talked about it a little earlier, Skilly. If you go back, you could hear that. And Big Chuck Little John says, in reference to your Vegeta comment, Jay, okay, that's enough, Grandpa. Time to wheel you back to your room, buddy.
I love that. I love that I literally don't know what the hell that is. And it's my goal to go through life without ever knowing what that is.
It's Vegeta, baby.
That to me
That's
reminds
Scott-
me of Speed Racer
Wait,
when I was
Scott,
like
is
6.
it Scott Vegeta? Remember Scott?